I have a system that helps me survive in a zombie apocalypse. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176, Misunderstanding. On the way back, he took a detour and scanned several times to confirm that no one was following him. Then he returned to the building with a few people. There was no way. He really didn't want to be entangled by others, and he didn't want to be on guard against others all the time. Although it seems that those people are trying to survive now, once they see the difference in their lives, it is hard to guarantee that they will not have other thoughts. On the way back, I don't know what Wang Qiushu and Qiu Zilan said, but he can feel that Qiu Zilan's attitude towards him has changed a lot. Then, after they moved their things up, they went back to their rooms to rest. After dinner and taking a shower, the two of them were about to go to bed when there was a knock on the door. He frowned. It could only be Qiu Zilan who came here at this time, but why did she not sleep in the middle of the night? Wang Qiushu got up and opened the door. It was Qiu Zilan outside the door. But Qiu Zilan was only wearing pajamas, her hair was still a little wet, and she smelled of shower gel. When Qiu Zilan saw the door open, she was confused for a moment, and finally took a deep breath and walked in. Wang Qiushu closed the door, and couldn't help but feel strange. Why aren't you sleeping? Why are you running over at this time? She didn't think there was anything wrong with Qiu Zilan's clothes. Qiu Zilan walked in front of him and suddenly said, "Zillion is already asleep." He only smelled the fragrance and was stunned for a moment. Oh. Wang Qiushu was a little confused. What did this have to do with her problem? Qiu Zilan looked back at Wang Qiushu and said seriously, "I've made up my mind. I've decided to be your assistant." He waved his hand. "You don't have to force yourself. When I have enough experience points in the future, I will help Zillion get a set of protective gear." Qiu Zilan shook her head. "It's not just about the protective gear. I figured it out. In this doomsday, only strength is everything. So, I have to become a zombie and become stronger." He nodded. "Oh, let's talk about it tomorrow. It's too late now." Qiu Zilan was stunned for a moment. Ah. He was also stunned. Huh. Qiu Zilan's cheeks flushed slightly. "Is it because it's not convenient tonight?" He shook his head. "No, it's just that there is no need. This doesn't pick the time." Qiu Zilan said, "Since I'm here, I've already made preparations, so no matter what you want, I can accept it." As she spoke, she looked at Wang Qiushu. Wang Qiushu looked at the two people with a confused look on her face. She suddenly felt confused again and didn't understand what the two were talking about. He was also a little confused. "Wait, I'm just turning into a zombie. What do you mean by what I want to do? You're talking as if I will do something to you. This must be made clear. Otherwise if Wang Qiushu misunderstands, then he's done." Then he secretly glanced at Wang Qiushu, and sure enough, he found that Wang Qiushu was looking at him with an unfriendly look. Qiu Zilan was stunned for a moment when she heard it. "Didn't Qiushu say that to become an auxiliary, I have to establish a connection with you? I see that you two seem to be in a relationship." Wang Qiushu blinked his big eyes. "I did say that, and we are indeed a couple." He slapped his forehead. "I think you may have misunderstood. This connection is just a simple correspondence. In other words, when you become an auxiliary, you are my auxiliary, that's all. It's not a so-called relationship, let alone the kind of relationship you want to establish." Qiu Zilan was stunned for a moment, then ran out with a red face. Wang Qiushu looked at him. No wonder Zilan has been unwilling. It turns out that she has such a deep misunderstanding of you. He scratched his head. "Do I look like that kind of person? And I didn't say anything suggestive. How did she think of that?" Wang Qiushu snorted coldly. "Is it you who don't know it?" He chuckled twice. "I really don't know, but I think you will know it better." Then, the lights in the room were turned off, and Wang Qiushu screamed at the same time. Early the next morning, Qiu Zilan brought Qiu Zilan over. However, she didn't dare to look at him directly, mainly because the misunderstanding yesterday was too big, and she felt embarrassed when she thought about it. He got up from the mat, brushed his teeth, washed his face, and made breakfast. Wan Kyushu got up from the bed, yawned, and then looked at Kyuzilin and her sister. Morning. Kyuzilin nodded, and Kyuzilin also said, morning. After breakfast, they sat around a table, and the air suddenly became quiet. Kyuzilin looked at this and that, always feeling that something she didn't know had happened. Wan Kyushu asked first, so we are going to the city center now, right? He nodded. Yes, we will clear all the way there and gain some experience points. Kyuzilin glanced at him secretly, then calmed herself down and asked, but the city center is far away from us, which means we have to move next. He shook his head. No, moving is too troublesome. We will stay here until we have enough experience. Kyuzilin was puzzled, but if that happens, we will spend a lot of time on the road. He waved his hand. You will understand when the time comes. Wan Kyushu nodded. Yes, it's right to listen to him anyway. Kyuzilin stopped worrying about this and asked, then, what about the auxiliary? He took out 2 transformation needles directly, just one for each of you. The 2 of them each took one, but did not inject it directly. Kyuzilin pulled the corner of Kyuzilin's clothes and shook her head slightly. Kyuzilin touched her head. Zillion, don't you have a good talk with me just now? And I will be back in a while. It's okay. Kyuzilin hesitated for a moment before letting go, but the look she gave him became even more unfriendly. He sighed. It seemed that his good image was gone. Wan Kyushu quickly changed the subject. Should we kill the invisible zombie first, or should we set off first? He smiled. Do you remember how we killed the zombies around us before? Wan Kyushu suddenly realized. I understand. Let's set off now. Kyuzilin didn't understand, but she still followed them downstairs. After arriving downstairs, they put the invisible zombie down first. However, no zombies appeared that night. It seemed that the zombies nearby had really been killed, and the rest should be trapped in the house and couldn't get out. Then, they each rode their bicycles to the vegetable market, dragging the invisible zombie with a rope behind them. Chapter 177 Kyuzilin transforms. They rode their bicycles all the way down, but didn't see any zombies. It seemed that the big fish had killed all the zombies nearby. After a long distance, zombies finally began to appear sporadically on the street. Wan Kyushu didn't even transform, but rushed out directly, killing the zombies one by one with a hammer. Afterwards, they chose the tallest building nearby, broke into the building, cleared all the zombies in the building, and then went to the top floor. Kyuzilin and Kyuzilin followed behind, but because they didn't get his order, they didn't give him acupuncture. Just like yesterday, they found a room and removed the anti-theft net. However, what Kyuzilin didn't expect was that he directly hung the invisible zombie outside the window and cut off the hands and feet of the invisible zombie. Black liquid flowed out of the broken hands and feet of the invisible zombie, emitting bursts of rancid smell and dripping to the ground at the same time. Then, they came to the next room. Kyuzilin asked, what should we do next? He replied, wait. Kyuzilin was puzzled. Aren't we here to kill zombies? Now that the invisible zombie is hanging outside, no zombie should dare to come over. Wan Kyushu smiled and said, if it is a level 2 zombie in its prime, it can deter other zombies. However, this invisible zombie is already disabled, so it's hard to say. Moreover, even if low level zombies don't dare to come, it's the same if there are some level 2 zombies. Kyuzilin nodded. Then when should I transform? He thought for a while. Let's see what kind of zombie is coming first. When the time comes, let Wan Kyushu cripple the zombie, and you kill it directly, and you will have a chance to gain the opponent's ability. Kyuzilin heard it and said, okay, it's all up to you. After a while, zombies began to appear downstairs, but these were ordinary zombies nearby. They didn't dare to get too close, but just looked at the black liquid on the ground from a distance, their eyes full of desire. The invisible zombies were now invisible, but they still couldn't stop the black liquid from dripping down, and the rancid smell drifted away with the wind. After a while, there were more and more zombies outside, and level 1 zombies began to appear, making bursts of ho-ho sounds. Kyuzilin hugged Kyuzilin tightly, obviously feeling scared. Kyuzilin patted her back gently. Don't be afraid, Zillion. Sister will protect you. Kyuzilin's hands immediately hugged tighter. After a while, they both felt a breath of oppression. Wang Qiushu and he were used to it, but Qiu Zilan and her sister felt a little uncomfortable. Wang Qiushu looked at him. Then I'll go? He nodded. Take the soul-breaking sword with you, and remember not to chop off your head. Wang Qiushu took the soul-breaking sword, and kept the hammer of the earth. Then, she gave herself an injection, transformed, walked to the next room and jumped down. The zombies that were still ready to move began to tremble the moment they felt Wang Qiushu's breath. The lower the level, the more they trembled. After Wang Qiushu landed, he didn't even look at the low-level zombies and walked forward. Several level 2 zombies started running back the moment they saw Wang Qiushu, but under Wang Qiushu's pressure, they obviously couldn't run fast. After a while, Wang Qiushu got rid of those level 2 zombies, tied them up with ropes, and dragged them behind her. When she walked back, she also cut off the hands and feet of those level 1 zombies and ordinary zombies. It was not until the time was almost up that she dragged the series of zombies back to the top floor. The invisible zombie looked at a group of his kind hanging on the rope and felt complicated. Just now, those people wanted to eat him, but now they were hung up like him. At the same time, he also realized the horror of the level 3 zombies, and now he just wanted to end it all as soon as possible. The low-level zombies that escaped the disaster sensed Wang Qiushu's breath and turned around to leave. However, there were many hands and feet piled up downstairs, and some of them were level 2 zombies, which were very attractive to them, so they couldn't move for a while. After Wang Qiushu finished his transformation, he returned to his room to rest. His physical strength was almost exhausted. He went to the next room and prepared to drag in the zombies hanging outside the window. Fortunately, his physical strength was much better than before, and these zombies were relatively light, and only a part of their bodies was left, so they were not very heavy. Otherwise, he really couldn't drag them alone. After a while, Qiu Zilan also came to help. With the combined efforts of the two, they finally dragged the zombies in. The ground was soon full of zombies, making bursts of ho-ho sounds, and some even began to bite the zombies next to them. Qiu Zilan took out the transformation needle and handed it to him. You should do it for the first time. I can't do it after all. He took the needle. Have you thought it through? Qiu Zilan nodded firmly. Well, come on. He stabbed her directly after hearing that and stepped back to keep a distance. Qiu Zilan's martial arts value is higher than Wang Qiushu's. He didn't want to be killed by Qiu Zilan, who turned into a zombie. The next second, the black liquid in the transformation needle was automatically injected into Qiu Zilan's body, and her eyes began to turn red. Then, she didn't even look at the zombies on the ground, and rushed towards him directly. He quickly controlled Qiu Zilan's body and sighed. Although I asked you to turn into a zombie, you don't have to leave those zombies that are obviously easier to deal with alone. Just want my life. He waited for a while, and Qiu Zilan really didn't have self-awareness. So, he controlled Qiu Zilan to pick up the soul-breaking knife on the ground, and started killing zombies. Qiu Zilan first killed all the level 1 zombies, then killed the invisible zombies, and then chopped the remaining level 2 zombies. Finally, she got rid of the remaining ordinary zombies. Then, he lifted Qiu Zilan's transformation. Qiu Zilan slowly opened her eyes, but saw zombie bodies on the ground, and they were all without hands and feet, and their heads and bodies were separated. Although she had killed many zombies before, the scene in front of her was still very shocking. He directly helped Qiu Zilan back to the next room. As soon as Qiu Zilan saw Qiu Zilan, she rushed over and looked at him with an unfriendly look. Wang Qiushu asked, "Is it done?" He nodded. Well, now let's see what abilities she can get, especially the invisible zombies. He didn't care about the abilities of other zombies, such as speed, iron skin and bones. After all, they were all sparsely populated. What he wanted most was the ability of invisibility. Not to mention whether it was powerful in actual combat, but it was rare enough. Chapter 178 Qiu Zilan's armor. He began to check the information sent by the system. Ding, the host gets assist +1. Ding, assist Qiu Zilan to kill a level 1 zombie above her level, host experience +10. Ding, assist Qiu Zilan to kill a level 1 zombie above her level, host experience +10. Ding. Assist QI user to kill a level 1 zombie above her level. Has been promoted to level 1. Host experience plus 10. Ding. Assist QI user to kill a level 1 zombie. Then there was another series of kill records. Since QI user had successfully promoted at this time, it was no longer a kill above her level. Ding. Assist QI user to kill a level 2 zombie above her level. Has been promoted to level 2. Host experience plus 100. The rest were kill records. Since no level 3 zombies were killed, QI user was still level 2. However, this wave did allow him to earn a lot of experience. He flipped through it for a long time, but didn't see any abilities he had gained. Then he remembered that he would have to wait until the next transformation to know whether he had gained any abilities, so he looked in vain. QI user sat on the chair and looked at him weakly. How is it? He shook his head. We have to wait until the next transformation to know what abilities we have gained. By the way, how do you feel now? QI user felt it. It's okay. Except for the lack of strength, I didn't find anything wrong. He breathed a sigh of relief. Then I'm relieved. By the way, you have now reached level 2 and have 2 chances to evolve. What do you want to evolve into? QI user thought for a while. The first one I want to evolve is muscles to increase explosive power. The second one is local hardening, just like the high-speed rail zombie. He nodded. I understand, but this evolution can only be seen after you transform into a zombie. QI user responded, yeah. QI user asked in a low voice, sister, have you turned into a zombie too? Will you be unable to change back like grandpa? QI user touched her head. No, sister has changed back now, hasn't sister? QI user looked at her and nodded repeatedly when she heard it. He picked up the juicer. Then you guys take a rest here for a while. I'll go deal with the corpse next door. Wan Kyushu waved his hand. Go quickly. I don't want to be smoked later. Soon, the sound of the juicer rang out. The zombies who were eating downstairs were all stunned. They had never heard such a sound before. Some zombies who were sensitive to sound started rushing into the building directly, wanting to come up. Some smarter ones kept a wait and see attitude. After all, the level 3 zombie just went upstairs. Although the breath of the level 3 zombie could not be felt now, maybe she was waiting somewhere. He naturally heard the footsteps coming from downstairs, so he shouted directly, Wan Kyushu, there are zombies coming in. The zombies that came in were all brainless zombies with low levels, so Wan Kyushu could just deal with them. Wan Kyushu responded and went downstairs with the hammer of the earth. He continued to squeeze juice there. After a while, QI Yuzulin, who had recovered most of her strength, came over. He asked without turning his head, is there anything? QI Yuzulin nodded. Can you help Zillion upgrade a set of armor? Otherwise, I can't go out to kill zombies with peace of mind. He looked back at QI Yuzulin. Are you sure you want to upgrade now? Well, why don't you wait until we get back? QI Yuzulin was puzzled. Why? He replied, because if you want to upgrade, you need to take off your clothes. So it's better to wait until she changes her clothes before I upgrade. QI Yuzulin nodded. Then I'll ask her to take off her clothes. He thought for a while. Okay, then I'll wait for you here. After a while, QI Yuzulin came back with a small set of clothes and shoes. He directly upgraded the clothes and shoes to level 3, but what he didn't expect was that this set of clothes and shoes turned out to be the same martial arts series as QI Yuzulin. However, the martial arts suit has a martial arts road probability of only 30%, and the martial arts shoes have a shaping probability of only 30%. However, both of them have an additional feature called growth, which means that they will change to a suitable size as QI Yuzulin's body grows. After hearing about this feature, QI Yuzulin smiled and said, now we don't have to worry about her not being able to wear it in the future. He nodded. QI Yuzulin took the clothes and shoes and went back. Not long after, Wan QI Yushu also came back. I'm so tired. Those zombies went crazy when they saw me. I attacked desperately and finally got rid of them. Did they forget what I look like and don't remember that I'm a level 3 zombie? He smiled. This is normal. Most of those who dare to rush in don't have much IQ, let alone whether they recognize you. Even if they recognize you, they see that you are just an ordinary human without the breath of a level 3 zombie. They must be thinking of eating you to see if they can get your ability. Wan Qiushu suddenly realized, no wonder, I said why they are so crazy, much crazier than those zombies who usually see humans. At this time, he just took out the zombie virus in the juicer and put it in the glass box. This way, it's done. All the corpses in the room have been cleaned up. Wan Qiushu asked, what should we do next? Now there are no more level 2 zombie corpses. Should we use the zombie virus in the glass box to lure zombies over? He shook his head repeatedly. The concentration of the zombie virus here is too high. I don't know what kind of monster will be lured here. It can't be used easily. So, after you and Qiushu deal with the zombies below, we will see the situation first. Wan Qiushu nodded. Then I'll go back and rest for a while. By the way, do you want to squeeze out those corpses downstairs? If you want, I'll go with you. He thought for a while. Forget it, they are all low-level zombies. There is no need to make a special trip. Let them lure more zombies over. The two returned to the next room together. Wan Qiushu looked at Qiushu's clothes. Zillion, your clothes are so beautiful. They look different from before. You don't have to worry about being attacked by zombies in the future. Qiushu pouted and said nothing. Qiushu smiled helplessly. She's losing her temper. Wan Qiushu asked in confusion, why? Isn't this dress nice? And it's been upgraded. It can protect her safety. The upgraded clothes and shoes are made of different materials from ordinary ones, so they can be easily distinguished. He walked in. Maybe it's because I upgraded them. If you don't like it, just take it off. Qiushu looked at him. Bad guy. This is given to me by my sister. I won't take it off. Chapter 179 Gaining Invisibility. After the two of them had a good rest, he took out 2 more transformation needles. Qiushu grabbed the corner of Qiushu's clothes. Sister, can we not go? Qiushu touched her head. Zillion, be good. Sister will be back soon. Qiushu had to let go of her hand. Qiushu then looked at him. Then I'll leave my sister to you to take care of. He nodded. Qiushu snorted coldly. I don't need him to take care of me. I can take care of myself. Qiushu smiled and followed Wan Qiushu out. The next second, the two of them transformed separately. At this time, he felt something different. Qiushu said, I seem to be able to control my body. His voice sounded in Qiushu's mind. Then leave it to you. Then, Qiushu moved her body. This feeling is quite wonderful. I seem to be much stronger than normal, and my whole body is full of strength. Wan Qiushu smiled. This is normal, let's go down. Qiushu nodded. Then Wan Qiushu hugged Qiushu's waist and fell directly to the ground. The zombies that were still gnawing on the corpse were stunned. In addition to the original level 3 zombies, there was another level 2 zombie. Wan Qiushu swung the hammer of the earth, and Qiushu held the soul-breaking knife and started killing directly. These were all low-level zombies, and under Wan Qiushu's suppression, they had no way to resist, and basically killed one at a time. He checked the system information and found only one. Ding, assist Qiushu to kill the level 2 zombie by leaps and bounds, and you can extract one of the abilities from the zombie, namely, invisibility and anonymity. Although he was prepared, he didn't expect that he only got the ability of the invisible zombie. Invisibility is to use the refraction of light to move away, change the light changes on your body, and blend into the environment. It can be said that this is the best disguise. And anonymity is to reduce your own sense of existence and minimize others' perception of you. Only when these two items are added together can the invisibility effect be better achieved. Otherwise, even if others can't see you, if you are more sensitive, you will easily notice something wrong. Moreover, the invisible zombie only has these 2 characteristics. No wonder he only dared to hide, instead of fighting with Wan Qiushu, or attacking by surprise, and he has no killing power at all. It is estimated that the invisible zombie can be upgraded to level 2 entirely by picking up leaks, and it is indeed very evasive. If it were not for the scanning, it would not be certain that his existence would be discovered. It is precisely because the invisible zombie has invisibility that it can survive around those zombies for so long and slip away under Wan Qiushu's nose. He thought about it and asked, System, doesn't it say that you can obtain the opponent's ability? Why can it only be one? These two abilities can be said to be indispensable, and the effect will be greatly reduced if one is missing. System, I've said it before, there's only a chance of getting the other party's abilities, and it doesn't say you can get all the abilities. If the host wants to get more abilities, 100 experience points can add 1. He was speechless. If you want to reduce it, you need experience points. If you want to increase it, you also need experience points, and it costs 100 points for each one. Why don't you go and grab it? System, then do you want it or not? If not, I'll leave first. He gritted his teeth. Yes, I want both. System, ding, deduct 100 experience points, assist QI Zealand to successfully obtain the invisibility and stealth characteristics. QI Zealand, who was fighting the zombies below, suddenly paused. Wan Kyushu hurriedly helped her smash the zombies in front of her and asked, "What's wrong?" QI Zealand shook her head. "I don't know, but I had a very strange feeling just now, as if there was something extra in my body." His voice rang in QI Zealand's mind. "It should be the ability of the invisible zombie. You try it." QI Zealand nodded and began to experiment. Wan Kyushu turned around and knocked over a zombie, and when he looked back, he suddenly found that QI Zealand was gone. She was a little panicked immediately. Could it be that she was abducted by a mysterious zombie? What level would it be? Level 4. His voice sounded directly. "What are you thinking? If there is a level 4 zombie, it would have abducted you." Wan Kyushu snorted coldly. "I'm level 3 after all, and I have the ability to resist a level 4 zombie. She is only level 2, and obviously has no ability to resist. By the way, why do I see that you don't look anxious at all?" he explained. QI Zealand just gained the ability to become invisible to zombies, so she became invisible. Wan Kyushu sensed it carefully again. "This ability is really powerful. It disappeared directly in front of me, and I couldn't sense it. I don't know if zombies of higher levels can sense it." He replied, "That's not clear, but as long as she kills a level 3 zombie, she can be upgraded to level 3. As the level increases, the ability to become invisible should become stronger." Wan Kyushu sighed. "I'm so envious. I wish I had such an ability too." He smiled and said, "There is a chance. When you reach level 4, see if you can meet a suitable zombie. If you are lucky, you can extract the other party's ability." Wan Kyushu nodded. "Well, I'll deal with these first." He continued, "You guys hurry up. If you support 2 people at the same time, it will consume a lot of my physical strength, so I may not be able to hold on for long." Wan Kyushu responded, "Okay, tell me when you think the time is almost up." On the other side, after QI Zealand finished the experiment, he also got his reminder and fought hard. When the time was almost up, Wan Kyushu took QI Zealand up directly, leaving only corpses on the ground. After the two came back, he directly cancelled the transformation. QI Zealand saw QI Zealand coming back, jumped down from the windowsill and rushed out. "Sister, I saw you just now. You are so powerful. But you disappeared for a while in the middle, which scared me to death." QI Zealand smiled. "Then you have to practice more in the future, and you can be as powerful as your sister." QI Zealand nodded repeatedly. He sat in the chair, too lazy to move. He remembered what Wan Kyushu said before. He didn't know how long it had been since he had felt weak. It turned out to be really uncomfortable. Wan Kyushu walked in and said with a smile, "How do you feel? You can't do it after just a while?" He couldn't even lift his hands, snorted coldly. "I feel like I'm about to be squeezed dry by you. Besides, can you blame me for not having enough time? I have to deal with both of you at the same time. What can I do?" Wan Kyushu blushed slightly and spat. "You're being a hooligan again." He was stunned for a moment, and he no longer had the energy to explain. Chapter 180 The Big Plan. QI Zealand walked in with QI Zealand. Wan Kyushu then asked, "We have almost killed all the zombies outside. The remaining ones are just cowards or a few low-level zombies. What should we do next? Although there are many corpses below, they are too low-level after all, and they are not very attractive to high-level zombies. Moreover, if the zombies nearby want to come, they would have come a long time ago. Those who have not appeared yet probably will not come. Especially some high-level zombies hiding in buildings or communities. They will not easily leave their territory in most cases. Therefore, if they want to continue killing zombies, they have to kill them all the way. However, if they do that, it will be too troublesome, and they will have to run everywhere. He waved his hand. You will know later. Let me rest for a while now. At the same time, he took out a powerful pill and ate it. Now there is a total of 15 minutes of transformation time. If it is divided equally between Wang Qiushu and Qi Yuzilan, it means 7.5 minutes each, which is not bad. Wang Qiushu and Qi Yuzilan also sat down to rest and recover their strength. He remembered that he had not seen Qi Yuzilan's panel yet, so he opened it directly. Assist Qi Yuzilan level 2 physical condition, weakened uninjured special skills, instant burst, partial hardening, invisibility, invisible transformation time. 8 minutes, increases with physical strength, weapons, non-protective gear, martial arts uniform, martial arts shoes. After seeing this, he understood why Qi Yuzilan was in good condition now. At least she was not so exhausted that she had to lie down. Wang Qiushu can only transform for 8 minutes at level 3, while Qi Yuzilan can transform for 8 minutes at level 2. Sure enough, the transformation time is related to personal physical strength. Qi Yuzilan practices martial arts every day, so her physical strength is naturally better than Wang Qiushu, so the initial transformation time should be 6 minutes, plus 2 upgrades, so it reaches 8 minutes. However, although Qi Yuzilan is now using the soul-breaking sword, it is obvious that the owner of the sword is still Wang Qiushu. So, he asked, is there any weapon you want to upgrade? Qi Yuzilan was stunned for a moment, then said, then let's take the big gun. Wang Qiushu asked curiously, big gun? Qi Yuzilan explained, it's the one I took out from home. Wang Qiushu suddenly realized, so that's called a big gun. I thought you were talking about a pistol or something like that. He replied, okay, I'll upgrade it for you when I get back. Qi Yuzilan nodded, and then said nothing, not knowing what she was thinking. Wang Qiushu became interested. By the way, didn't the little cannon brother have a pistol when we saw him last time? How about we grab it and upgrade it with unlimited bullets, super long distance, automatic tracking, etc. Then there will be no need for close combat, let alone running around, and we can take the zombie's head from thousands of miles away. He stretched out his hand and waved it in front of Wang Qiushu's eyes. Wake up, wake up. Let's not talk about whether it can be upgraded with the functions you mentioned. Even if it is really upgraded, it will not be of much use. It can only deal with some low-level zombies at most. Wang Qiushu was puzzled. Why? He explained. First, the lethality of bullets is limited. We don't know how hard the copper skin and iron bones of high-level zombies are. Second, if the distance is too far, it will give the zombies time to react. Not to mention speed type zombies. When you become a zombie, your movement speed and reaction speed will be much faster than normal. Correspondingly, the speed of high-level zombies is also increased, so at that time, hot weapons such as firearms will not be too effective. Wang Qiushu was depressed for a while after hearing this, but soon he became excited again. Then why don't we upgrade the missiles? The missiles are powerful enough, and they also have an automatic tracking function, so we don't have to worry about zombies being able to dodge them easily. He sighed. Where can we find the missile system? Even if we find one, how much experience will it take to upgrade it? Wang Qiushu also sighed. Okay, it seems that I have to do it myself. He smiled and patted Wang Qiushu on the shoulder. Come on, worker. Wang Qiushu snorted coldly and turned his head away from him. In order to implement the plan later, he decided to upgrade the scanner that had not been upgraded for a long time. The coverage of the scanner will determine their future life and death. He said directly, system, upgrade the scanner. System, ding, deduct 10 experience points. The scanner is upgraded successfully. The scanner's opening time is doubled, and the coverage is doubled. He shook his head, but doubling was not enough. The coverage was still too small. So he continued, continue to upgrade. Experience points were constantly deducted, and the range of the scanner was constantly increasing. until he saw a message. Ding. 100 experience points deducted. The scanner upgraded successfully. Open a new function. Directly display the opponent's level. He looked at the few remaining experience points and breathed a sigh of relief. This function is not bad, much more intuitive than the previous one that could only judge the opponent's level based on size. Moreover, according to the nature of the system, the next time it is upgraded, 100 experience points will be deducted each time, which is obviously something he can't afford now. He didn't know how big the current scanner's coverage was. After all, the system did not specify the specific number, but it must not be small after so many doublings. The most important thing is that the time that one experience point can be opened has also increased, so each time it is opened, it can see longer and obtain more information. At this time, everyone had rested for a while, so they all looked at him, waiting for his next instruction. He then talked about his title of Thousand Corpse Slayer. Of course, the specific operation was still to be discussed. Wan Kyushu asked first, but this title can only attract level 3 zombies, so it's not very useful. Besides, I'm the only level 3 now, and she barely counts as half. If the two of us join forces, we can only deal with 2 level 3 zombies at best. If there are too many, let alone killing them, we'll be lucky to escape successfully. What's more, there are 2 of you. Zilan nodded. Yes, even if Zillion can be sent to a safe place first, if you wear the title, those zombies will definitely chase you, and it will be difficult for the 2 of us to protect you at that time. He chuckled. I just used most of my experience to upgrade the scan, and now the coverage is very large. As long as the scan is turned on, you can get the movements of those zombies at any time and respond in time. Wan Kyushu and the others were still not at ease after hearing this, mainly because this method was too dangerous. He continued, this title will only take effect when you wear it, so as long as you take it off in time, it will be fine. Wan Kyushu and the others looked at each other and nodded. Chapter 181 Dragon Slayer Spear. Afterwards, they sent Zilan back. At the same time, he also upgraded Zilan's armor. The current martial arts suit can block the attacks of zombies of level 3 and below, and the probability of the martial arts road has also increased to 40%. Using the body as a shield is indeed calculated according to the level. Now it can resist the attacks of zombies of level 3+1 and below, but the number of times is still 1. The movement speed of the martial arts shoes has increased by 60%, and the probability of shaping has increased to 40%. Afterwards, Zilan took out the big gun with a serious face and handed it to him. He took the big gun and upgraded the big gun. Dragon Slayer Spear. Primary form. Upgradable. Increases the lethality to zombies by 60% introduction. With the big gun in hand, dragons can also be destroyed. It is said that this gun once killed a dragon, and the gun head even sealed a dragon soul. Features. Non-stick pan. No matter what it touches, it will not get stained, eliminating the trouble of cleaning. Sharpness. When the spearhead pierces the opponent, the lethality doubles. Self-healing. After being damaged, it can self-repair, but it takes a lot of time. Dragon soul killing. When attacking the opponent's head, there is a 30% chance of instantly killing the opponent with a lower level than itself. After upgrading, the big gun changed its appearance. At the connection between the spearhead and the gun barrel, you can see the shape of a dragon head. The dragon body is wrapped around the entire gun barrel, and the dragon scales on it are clearly visible. The already simple gun barrel has become even heavier at this time, and with the spearhead flashing with cold light, it faintly exudes a murderous aura. Zilan's eyes lit up, and she looked at the big gun without blinking. He handed the big gun over and explained the characteristics again. Zilan nodded and then said, "Thank you." He waved his hand. "It's just a small matter. Now we should set off." After speaking, he walked out first. Zilan nodded and looked at Zilan. "You wait here obediently. Sister will be back soon." Zilan also knew that they were going to do something big, so she didn't make a fuss, but just said, "Sister, be careful." Zilan nodded. Zilan looked at Wan Kyushu again. "Sister Kyushu, you too." Wan Kyushu touched her head. "Zillion is so obedient. Sister Kyushu will definitely be careful." Zillion looked at his back and finally said, when she was almost out of sight, "Bad guy, you should be careful too." He paused for a moment and then responded, "Thank you for your concern, and I will definitely bring your sister back safely." After Wang Qiushu and Zillion said goodbye to Zillion, they followed. After catching up, Wang Qiushu smiled and asked, "How does it feel to be cared for?" He replied, "It's good. It would be better if they didn't call me a bad guy." Zillion explained, "I have already taught her, but she just won't listen." He waved his hand. "I was just saying it casually, don't mind it. Besides, this title is also very special. In the Doomsday, being a bad guy may be much better than being a good guy." Zillion was silent. Wang Qiushu then asked, "Then are we going back to where we were just now?" He thought for a while. "Yes, I will wear that title and start scanning to see what happens. If a large number of level 3 zombies come, then we will retreat to the vegetable market. If that doesn't work, we will retreat to the community where the zombies are controlled. As long as I take off the title in time, those level 3 zombies will lose their target and will no longer chase us. Then we can take the opportunity to defeat them one by one." Wang Qiushu nodded. "Okay, let's do it this way." After a while, they returned to where they were just now. There was no time to clean up the corpses inside, mainly because he didn't like them, because they were too low level, and it would take a lot of time to use a juicer, so he just left them there. Therefore, those corpses attracted a lot of new zombies, who were gnawing on the corpses. Those zombies didn't know Wang Qiushu and the others. When they saw a living person, they dropped the pieces of meat in their hands and rushed over. Wang Qiushu snorted coldly and got out of the car. "I think you want to die." Then he swung the hammer of the earth and rushed over. Before her, a big gun had already stabbed out first, and the gun head flashing with cold light stabbed the head of the first zombie. With a bang, the zombie's head exploded directly. Zillion was stunned for a moment. This feeling. He smiled and said, "This is the dragon soul killing. When it is triggered, there will be a very mysterious feeling, which is different from the direct damage caused by the weapon itself." Zillion nodded and rushed over with the big gun. The cold light flashed and stabbed the zombies' heads, taking them away one by one. Wang Qiushu swung the hammer of the earth, aiming at the zombies' heads, and hit them one by one. He stood at the back and watched the show. With these two people there, no zombie could break through the defense line and attack him. As he watched, he suddenly found that there was an extra shadow on the ground, and it was gradually approaching him. So he turned around, and the death and life knife suddenly appeared in his hand. The moment the blade was cut, it suddenly doubled in length. The zombie hadn't figured out what was going on, and seeing that he was discovered, he rushed over. The next second, he kicked the zombie away. After the zombie landed, he still felt a little dizzy. The other party was obviously an ordinary human, and he didn't make any sound. So how did the human find him? So he shook his head, trying to make himself more awake. As he shook, he found that his head suddenly flew out. Wang Qiushu heard the sound coming from behind him and asked quickly, "How are you?" Zillion also took the time to look at him. He was observing the corpse of the zombie, and replied without turning his head, "I'm fine, just a level 1 zombie. But this level 1 zombie is quite interesting, with cat-like pads on its feet. No wonder it can sneak up behind me quietly." Seeing that he still had the mind to analyze the zombies, Wang Qiushu was relieved and accelerated the speed of killing zombies. Zillion asked curiously, since he didn't make any sound, "How did you find out about his sneak attack?" He smiled and said, "It's so sunny now. As soon as he appeared behind me, his shadow was immediately revealed. It's a pity that his level is too low, so you can't get his ability. Otherwise he would definitely be a good sneak attacker." Zillion asked, "By the way, will my invisibility also cast a shadow on the ground like his?" She realized that she had forgotten to pay attention to this when she transformed just now. He shook his head. "Your invisibility is different from his. Yours is all round. It not only changes the way your body refracts light, but also changes your shadow. So there is absolutely no flaw." Zillion shot the zombie in the head. "Then I feel relieved." Chapter 182 wearing title. After a while, Wang Qiushu and the other two killed all the zombies here. There were no zombies on the street anymore, and the two of them were exhausted. He took out the juicer as usual and started to squeeze juice and said, "You two take a rest first and then start again after you have rested." The two nodded together. While he was squeezing juice, a few ordinary zombies ran out from time to time, all attracted by the corpses. There was no need for Wan Qiushu and the others to take action. He solved them directly and put them into the juicer. When he finished squeezing the corpses, Wan Qiushu and the other two had recovered their physical strength and were waiting for his next instructions. He was about to wear the title of Thousand Corpse Slayer, but thinking of the nature of the system, he asked, "System, after wearing this title, can I take it off at any time?" "System, each time you wear it, you must wear it for at least 15 minutes before you can take it off." After hearing this, he breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he asked in advance, otherwise he would be caught off guard later. Then, he said to the two of them, "There is something I just discovered. After wearing this title, it will take 15 minutes before you can take it off freely." Wan Qiushu waved his hand nonchalantly. "It's only 15 minutes. I'll just take 2 doses." Qiushu frowned. "However, we don't know how many level 3 zombies will come. Since we can't take it off, it means that we may have to face the siege of multiple level 3 zombies. Moreover, even if you can hold on for 15 minutes, we still have to consider the issue of escape later." Wan Qiushu was stunned for a moment, then looked at him. "Then what should we do?" He responded, "The first level physical strength potion can be taken once, and the second level physical strength potion can be taken twice, which adds up to 3 times. I'm also in full condition now, a total of 4 times. I can last 15 minutes at a time, a total of 15 hours. But if the two of you transform at the same time, it means you have to split it equally, so it can only last for 30 minutes. As long as I can hold on for the first 15 minutes, I can take off the title, and it shouldn't be difficult to get rid of the zombies behind me by then." Qiushu nodded. "If that's the case, we can give it a try. Maybe we can run ahead to avoid being surrounded by level 3 zombies. In that case, no matter how much time we have, it will be useless." Wan Qiushu interrupted, "But if we keep running, it will also consume our physical strength, and then we won't be able to hold on for that long." Qiushu frowned when she heard this. She hadn't thought of this. He thought for a while, "Well, let's stay here in front and see the situation first. If they really want to form a siege, then we will find the weakest point to break out. I have a scanner and can find their weak points at any time." Wan Qiushu's arms can be extended. At that time, let alone flying over the eaves and walls, it will be no problem to shuttle directly between the buildings. As long as they can't fly, they should not be able to catch up with us. Wan Qiushu clapped his hands. "This method is good. Then it's decided?" he asked. "Then I start?" The two nodded together and held their weapons firmly in their hands, ready to fight at any time. Then, he put on the title of Thousand Corpse Slayer and turned on the scanner. After wearing the title, he didn't feel anything strange. The main reason was that all the zombies nearby had been killed, and he couldn't test the deterrent effect of the title. As for the attraction to level 3 zombies, he didn't notice it for a while. If there were level 3 zombies nearby, it might be more intuitive. The scan was centered on him, covering a large area. There were indeed no zombies nearby. There were still some hiding in the building, but they couldn't get out. In the farther place, level 1 zombies, level 2 zombies, and some yellow dots representing living people began to appear. However, within the scanning range, no level 3 zombies were seen. However, after he turned on the scan, those zombies all stopped moving. I don't know if his title played a deterrent role. Wan Qiushu asked on the side, "What's the situation?" He replied, "No trace of level 3 zombies has been found yet. Let's wait and see." Since the level 3 zombies hadn't come yet, he didn't let Wan Qiushu and the others transform. Even if they transformed now, it would be a waste. If he transformed to deal with those zombies below level 2, it would be a waste of talent. After a while, the scanner finally showed changes. His expression became nervous. "Pay attention." 2 level 3 zombies appeared in the north. 1 appeared in the south. 1 appeared in the east. 3 appeared in the west. Wan Qiushu and the other person beside him also became nervous. It was difficult for them to protect themselves with so many level 3 zombies, let alone protect him. Qiuzilan thought for a while. The east and north are close to the city center. No wonder there are so many level 3 zombies. Fortunately, the big fish and high-speed rail zombies were killed in advance, and you cleaned up the surrounding area. Otherwise we would really be surrounded by zombies. Wang Qiushu thought about it and suggested, why don't you upgrade a set of armor first? If we can't protect you later, at least the armor can help you reduce some damage. He shook his head. No, even if the armor can withstand it, my body can't stand it. It doesn't make much sense. Wang Qiushu didn't say anything more after hearing this, but just silently tightened the handle of the hammer. At this time, he frowned. Wait a minute, I don't know if those level 3 zombies have discovered each other's existence, or for other reasons, they have all stopped. Wang Qiushu secretly breathed a sigh of relief and guessed, could it be that they discovered each other's existence and started fighting? He shook his head. It's not clear yet. Qiuzilan said, if that's the case, it would be the best. It would be best if they fight half to death, and then we take the opportunity to reap the harvest. Wang Qiushu nodded repeatedly. Heroes think alike. At this time, his face changed. Oh no. The two asked hurriedly, what happened? He turned his head and looked at the two people standing on both sides. Those level 3 zombies didn't move, but the other zombies moved. Wang Qiushu asked puzzledly, other zombies? He nodded woodenly. Yes, not only those outside, but also those in the buildings, all ran out. There are even zombies opening the doors for the zombies in the houses. I estimate that we will be surrounded by low-level zombies soon. Wang Qiushu thought for a while before saying, if it's just a low-level zombie, it shouldn't be a big problem. With our strength, we should be able to deal with it easily. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183, The Zombie Swarm. As soon as Wang Qiushu finished speaking, zombies could be seen rushing towards him on the street in the distance. However, as he said, they were all low-level zombies. Those low-level zombies roared and rushed forward. Although they looked very imposing, they also had a sense of tragedy. After all, they were all forced to come here. On the one hand, there was the oppression from the level 3 zombies, and on the other hand, there was the shock from the title of Thousand Corpse Slayer. They were caught in the middle, and had no ability to resist. However, it seems that the oppression from the level 3 zombies is still stronger, so they rushed towards him. Of course, it is also possible that they have gathered a certain number, so they can resist the shock from the title of Thousand Corpse Slayer. The two looked at him at the same time, waiting for his further instructions. He had been paying attention to the movements of those level 3 zombies. After finding that they were indeed not moving, he said, it seems that they want to use these low-level zombies to test us and consume our physical strength. You should be careful first, don't transform, and don't kill too quickly. It just happens that we can take this opportunity to fill up the 15 minutes, and then we can take the title at any time. Wang Qiushu looked at him worriedly. What about you? Qiuzilan also looked over. There are too many zombies now, and he has no protective gear. It is difficult for the two of them to keep an eye on him. He raised his hand, and a cold light flashed between his fingers. He smiled. I still have this, and I have a scanner. If there are zombies that I can't beat approaching, I can find them at the first time. Wang Qiushu nodded. Then you be careful. After that, he rushed out with the hammer of the earth. Qiuzilan glanced at him. Be careful not to die. She also rushed out. He nodded and observed the scanner again. Since the zombies on the way had been cleared by them, his back was safe for the time being. The zombies in front were left to Wang Qiushu and the others to deal with. Therefore, he could observe with such peace of mind. At this time, the scanner showed that the level 3 zombies all stayed in place, did not move, and did not start fighting each other. He couldn't help, but secretly thought it was a pity. It would be better if they could fight. Even if they couldn't both lose, at least they could reduce the number of the other side. According to his speculation, it is very likely that these zombies have sensed each other's existence, so a delicate balance has been formed instead. They dare not attack each other, so as not to be taken advantage of by the fisherman. Of course, in the eyes of the zombies, this fisherman certainly does not include him. After all, he is now an ordinary person, and Wang Qiushu and the others have not transformed, so they are the weakest in the eyes of the zombies. However, the level 3 zombies have some intelligence after all, and naturally know that high returns are accompanied by high risks, so they drive these low level zombies over. He touched his chin. This is perfect. We don't have to look for zombies everywhere to kill. It will be much more convenient in the future. However, he also knew that this could not be delayed for too long. Once those level 3 zombies felt that they had no strength or could not resist the temptation to kill him and acted, they would not be able to kill low level zombies leisurely here. Besides, even if Wang Qiushu and the others were bullying, their physical strength was limited after all, and they could not kill them indefinitely. However, he did not have the idea of letting Wang Qiushu and the others transform for the time being. Although the original plan was to let the two transform and then take the opportunity to attack, the level 3 zombies did not come over now. Moreover, if two level 3 zombies suddenly appeared beside him, he was worried that the zombies would be scared and dare not come over. After all, those level 3 zombies were alone and could not beat Wang Qiushu and the others at the same time. If they really had that strength, they would have upgraded to level 4 long ago. Would they still need to kill him to upgrade? Therefore, the next plan might have to be changed. As he was thinking, he saw a bunch of zombies rushing over from behind. After a while, the zombies behind him finally appeared. It seemed that this group of zombies were all ordinary zombies, and the zombies with higher levels were still behind. However, he didn't think about it and ran directly to Wang Qiushu and the others. After rushing out for a distance, he didn't forget to turn around and raise his middle finger. If he judged by naked eyes alone, he might really rush up and kill those ordinary zombies. But he saw in the scan that there were actually level 2 zombies among the ordinary zombies. It seems that the other party is preparing to take a decapitation action to deal with him unexpectedly. However, there is not much benefit for the level 2 zombie to kill him. Therefore, he guessed that the level 2 zombie is likely to be a speed zombie, mixed in with it just to abduct him and then bring him to the level 3 zombie. Of course, it is also possible that the level 2 zombie is very strong and was sent specifically to test his strength. However, this possibility is not great. Seeing him running back, the zombies rushed even harder. However, the physical strength of ordinary zombies is naturally not as good as his, so the distance between the two sides is gradually widening. At this time, a zombie rushed out directly from the group of zombies at an extremely fast speed, and his target was exactly him. Immediately, he confirmed his guess that the other party was indeed coming for him. However, his current physical strength is twice that of Wang Qiushu and the others. With the high physical strength bonus, although he cannot directly get rid of the speed type zombies behind him, he can at least ensure that he will not be caught up. Wang Qiushu and the others have been distracted and silently paying attention to him. When they found that he was running back, they also killed the zombies in front of them while retreating in his direction. Although the two of them did not transform, they were blessed with protective gear and weapons. Not only did they not get injured, but they also killed a lot of zombies. In front of them, the corpses were piled up into a small mountain. However, under the pressure of the level 3 zombies, those zombies still rushed forward fearlessly, but their bodies were shaking all the time. After all, although they did not have a very high IQ, they could also see the terrifying strength of Wang Qiushu and the others. Knowing that they would die if they went up, they had to go up. However, since the two of them did not transform, they could deal with ordinary zombies. They could only barely dodge those speed type zombies, but they had no way to kill them. After all, their reaction speed could not keep up. Seeing that he was getting closer and closer to Wang Qiushu and the others, the speed type zombie following him also became anxious. Suddenly, he jumped up directly. He squinted his eyes and looked up at the sky where the speed type zombie was at the moment. But this jump did not close the distance much, so he did not understand why the other party did this. The next second, he finally understood. Chapter 184 Highlight Moment. The speed zombie stretched out a hand, and then the 5 fingers of that hand suddenly stretched out. The 5 fingers formed a large net and covered him directly. He now understood why the speed zombie was sent here. It turned out that this was a trick. He didn't know how the speed zombie evolved, and it actually evolved such a useless function. Just stretching the fingers is actually not very useful. At most, it can bully zombies with lower levels than itself. It has no advantage when facing the same level. Moreover, since the fingers of this speed zombie can stretch, it means that it is more auxiliary, and it is unlikely to have a strong body. He stood there motionless, staring at the 5 fingers that covered him. His muscles tensed, and the life or death knife in his hand was ready to go. This knife is also level 3 now, and it should be no problem to deal with a level 2 zombie. Wan Qiushu saw the speed zombie stretch out 5 fingers, and suddenly became more anxious. He didn't care about defense at all, and ran directly to him. At this moment, the zombies rushed up like crazy and entangled her. Qiushu shook her spear, and swept back all the zombies that rushed up. She turned to look at Wan Qiushu. "I'll block here, you go and save her first." Wan Qiushu nodded and rushed towards him quickly. Qiushu turned to look at the zombies, and the spear in her hand was still shaking slightly because of the force just now. Her eyes were very solemn. Before this, she had never thought that she would face such a number of zombies at the same time. It is said that 2 fists cannot beat 4 hands. If she were an ordinary person, let alone such a number of zombies, even this number of people, she would not be able to beat them. However, after she transformed into a zombie and reached level 3, her body underwent some changes. With the blessing of these equipment, she can now deal with so many zombies at the same time with the body of an ordinary person. She looked back at Li Wending, thinking to herself that if she had such a skill at the beginning of the apocalypse, her grandfather might not have died. However, everything was in the past. What she had to do now was to stop the zombies in front of her and buy time for Wan Qiushu. No matter what, Li Wending could not die. If he died, it would be difficult for her sister, and Wan Qiushu to survive in this apocalypse. Thinking of this, she shook the spear in her hand and pierced the head of a zombie that rushed up. Then, she shook the spear and the zombie's head exploded directly. Then, without thinking, she rushed over and fought with the zombies, blocking them tightly. On the other side, although Wan Qiushu was trying her best to run to Li Wending, she was still one step slower than the speed zombie. I saw that the 5 fingers had already reached the top of Li Wending's head and were about to cover it. Once the 5 fingers caught him, the speed zombie only needed to retract the fingers, which only took 1 second. An ordinary person could not fight against a level 2 zombie. The speed zombie obviously thought so and did so he had a ferocious face and clenched his teeth. Although the 5 fingers were trembling, he still covered Li Wending. Li Wending had been staring at the speed zombie and suddenly smiled. "It's really hard for you. You have to take on me under such great pressure. This must be a bad feeling." As he spoke, his head was already black, completely covered by the 5 fingers. Even the sunlight was blocked. When the 5 fingers were only 1 centimeter away from his head, his hand suddenly moved. He raised his hand lightly and quickly put it back, as if he had not moved at all. The speed zombie was stunned when he saw this. He seemed to have seen a flash of cold light just now, but he didn't find anything wrong. However, now that it has come to this, as long as he works harder, he can bring the target back. So, the speed zombie exerted force on his hand, trying to grab Li Wending, and then retreated. He saw Wan Qiushu running towards him. Once he met him, it was uncertain whether he could take Li Wending back or not, and whether he could survive. While the speed zombie was exerting force, he suddenly felt something wrong with his hand, as if something was missing from his body. The 5 fingers that were originally covering Li Wending suddenly broke off from above his head, and black liquid sprayed out. However, his arm and the length of the sword of death and life were not very long, so he only cut off a small section of the speed zombie's finger. At this time, Wan Qiushu just happened to walk to his side, and after taking a closer look at him to make sure he was okay, he felt relieved. The speed zombie was stunned and forgot to retract his hand for a while. Wan Qiushu rushed forward with all his strength and then swung the hammer of the earth fiercely, hitting the 5 fingers that were spraying black liquid. The 5 fingers were smashed and flew backwards. Because they were too long, They fell on the ordinary zombies, knocking down a large number of them. The first batch couldn't even withstand the huge force, and the difference in physical strength caused by the level difference between the two sides, so they were directly broken in half, but they would not die for a while. Wang Qiushu did not continue to rush forward, but walked back to his side quickly, because his safety was more important. He shook his head slightly and sighed. What a pity, if I had protective gear on me, I wouldn't have to dodge just now. It would be so cool to just stand there and watch the finger fall and the black liquid spray. It would be even better if I could take a photo as a souvenir. Yes, he dodged just now because he didn't have any protective gear on him and didn't want to get stained with the black liquid. Wang Qiushu turned to look at him, speechless. When did you become so narcissistic? If I had known, I wouldn't have rushed over to save you. He quietly wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. If you don't save me, what if I get captured by that monster? Besides, that was a rare highlight for me. It's so rare to fight against a level 2 zombie with an ordinary body and not be defeated. Wang Qiushu rolled his eyes at him. Who told you to become Tang Monk now? Everyone wants to bite you. By the way, what should we do now? We are being attacked from both sides. Zilan and I are about to be unable to withstand it, and even if we transform, it is estimated that it will be difficult to protect you. He looked at the time. Only 5 minutes had passed. The zombies on the opposite side have begun to regroup and slowly walk towards this side. Zilan was also alone and could no longer hold on to the zombies. Chapter 185 Retreat. He threw out a transformation needle and a first level physical medicine. You transform first, and then take us to the other side. There are too many zombies. We can't stay here and continue to fight. Wang Qiushu swallowed the medicine directly and said, that's a pity. If I transform, I can beat them. Otherwise, you go into the house and hide first, and I will show you a one-man Garda pass. 10,000 men can't open it. He shook his head. No, we have to leave quickly. Your appearance is an anomaly. Once those level 3 zombies feel you are by my side, they will definitely think you are about to succeed. At that time, they will definitely chase us like crazy, and it's hard to say whether we can escape at that time. Wang Qiushu thought about the scene. Several level 3 zombies chasing them. That was really exciting. So she directly gave up the idea just now. At this time, Zilan couldn't hold on anymore and began to fight and retreat. The zombies on the other side were also gradually approaching here, but because of what happened just now, their speed was not fast. After Wang Qiushu took the drug, his physical strength was full, and his physical strength was still enough to support Wang Qiushu's transformation. So, Wang Qiushu injected herself directly and turned into a zombie in the next second. She raised her head and stared at the zombies in front of her with bloodshot eyes. Those zombies stopped one after another and dared not move forward. Although they didn't know what happened, the pressure from the level 3 zombies in front of them was real. As a result, the zombies on Zilan's side stopped and didn't dare to move again. He kept paying attention to the feedback from the scanner. After Wang Qiushu transformed, those level 3 zombies really began to get agitated, and some even rushed over here. He pulled Wang Qiushu. Don't look, let's go. Wang Qiushu nodded, hugged him with one hand, climbed on the roof with the other hand, and the two went up directly. During this process, those zombies just watched and didn't dare to move. Even the level 2 zombie that could extend its fingers just now didn't come out to obstruct. There was no way. One of them was a level 3 zombie, and the other had the title of 1000 Corpses Killer. The combined pressure of the two was too strong. After landing, Wang Qiushu stretched out his arms again, returned to the ground, and then rushed to Zilan's side. Zilan pierced the head of a zombie in front of her with a gun, and the zombie fell down after pulling out the gun. With Wang Qiushu around, those zombies didn't dare to move, let alone resist. It was so cool to kill that she didn't want to leave. Wang Qiushu didn't say much, hugged Zilan, and then rose to the roof. During this process, the zombies on both sides seemed to be watching a show, just watching quietly without any movement. After landing, the two looked at him at the same time. He said directly, those level 3 zombies are all coming this way. We have to leave quickly. The east is where we live. We can't lead the zombies over there, and there happens to be only one level 3 zombie in the south. We will run to that side when the time comes." The two nodded when they heard it. He went on to say, "Send Dylan down first and clean up the zombies below. Then you come back to pick me up and we'll go straight away." Wang Qiushu didn't ask any more questions and directly hugged Qiu Zilan and landed on the street behind the house. Because they were fighting zombies in the front just now, the zombies gathered on the street in front. There were not many zombies on the street behind, and there were only a few scattered ones because there was no room, so they couldn't squeeze through. When the zombies on the street saw Wang Qiushu appear, they were all stunned. They said that pie in the sky fell, so what did they want to do by dropping a level 3 zombie? Fortunately, Wang Qiushu didn't attack them and soon left, leaving only Qiu Zilan. In the eyes of those zombies, Qiu Zilan was just an ordinary person, so they naturally rushed to Qiu Zilan. Anyway, there was no way to deal with the target now, so they might as well eat someone. Qiu Zilan snorted coldly, shook the spear in his hand, and went straight to meet him. When he landed, there was only a corpse on the ground and Qiu Zilan standing on the side. He shouted directly, "Go, go, those level 3 zombies are coming. Especially the ones in the west. There should be a speed zombie in it, or some special ability, moving very fast, not far from us." Qiu Zilan heard this, and walked over quickly. Then, he lifted up the bicycle by the wall. This was prepared by them early in the morning. As the saying goes, a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows, and it was unexpected that it really came in handy. He looked at Qiu Zilan. "You lead the way in front, and I will carry Qiu to cover the rear. With Qiu here, even if those low-level zombies dare to chase us, they can't hurt us." Moreover, Wang Qiu is now in the transformation state, so it is naturally impossible for her to ride alone. If she ends the transformation, won't she fall down directly? In addition, if she rides alone, she can't take action. Qiu Zilan nodded, got on the bicycle directly, and led the way in front. For safety reasons, the distance between the two cars is not far. Under his instructions, she rode directly to the south where the level 3 zombies are. However, due to Wang Qiushu's deterrent effect, Qiu Zilan was not obstructed in fact. On the contrary, when passing by those motionless zombies, she would take the opportunity to shoot and pierce the heads of those zombies, killing as many as she could. While riding his bicycle, he paid attention to the movements of those level 3 zombies. Fortunately, the previous level 3 zombies did not approach directly out of caution, and the two sides kept a long distance. And this distance now gave him a lot of time, so he would not be caught up all at once. Especially the one in the west, although it was fast, it was too far away, and could not catch up for a while. After he and Wang Qiushu left here, after a long time, the zombies started to move again, and the direction they went was obviously the direction the three left. However, looking at the movements of those zombies, you can see that they are actually reluctant to follow. The three of them rode their bicycles desperately forward, as if they were performing a fast and passionate show. In fact, it was indeed the case. If they were entangled by the level 3 zombies, they would probably confess here. So, he thought about running to the south. Firstly, there was only one zombie over there, and with Wang Qiushu's strength, he had a great chance of killing it. At that time, he could either stay there and ambush, or continue to escape. Secondly, he could also delay time. As long as he could hold on for 15 minutes, then it would be up to him to decide whether to fight or escape. Chapter 186 Crabman. While they were running for their lives, the level 3 zombies in the south were also approaching this side. However, the opponent's speed was not fast, even slower than the ordinary level 3 zombies. It seemed that he was a tank type player. Because of his large body, he was slow in action. As for the opponent's intentional hiding, he didn't believe it. After all, the attraction of the 1,000 corpses slash was too great. Even if the opponent really wanted to hide his weakness, he shouldn't do it at this time, but should run over like the speed type zombies behind. A few minutes later, the speed type zombies in the west behind him were getting closer and closer. Wang Qiushu's body suddenly softened, and he lay directly on him. It turned out that the transformation time had ended. Fortunately, he just held the hammer of the earth in his hand, otherwise he would have to turn around and pick up the hammer. Without Wang Qiushu's deterrence, the zombies on the roadside began to move again, mainly because the title of the Thousand Corpses / was not strong enough to deter. Qiu still rode forward regardless, and killed the zombies on both sides with a spear. She knew her mission was to clear the way, so she couldn't stop, otherwise the two people behind her would be in danger. He slowed down a little, turned his head slightly and asked, "Are you okay?" Wang Qiushu replied weakly, "I'm fine, I just don't have any strength. By the way, are the zombies behind us chasing us? If they are, give me some strength medicine, I can still fight." He shook his head, "Not yet, you take a rest first, and we'll talk when they come." Wang Qiushu rested her head on his broad back and didn't respond. It seemed that she was really exhausted. Fortunately, there were only some ordinary zombies on the roadside, and the higher level zombies had been driven away to deal with Li Wending and the others just now, so Qiu could barely cope with it. After stabbing the zombies on the roadside again, Qiu asked without looking back, "How far is the zombie in front of us? Can we make it in time?" He answered directly, "It's in time. He is not far from us. He is just 2 streets away. But the zombies behind are chasing us a little bit. We have to get rid of the zombies in front as soon as possible." Qiu nodded and didn't ask again. Wang Qiushu had recovered a little strength at this time and slowly sat up with both hands holding his clothes. The zombies in front are level 3 and she will have to take action when the time comes. Although Qiu's strength is quite strong, she is only level 2 after all, and she will still be suppressed by the level, not to mention being able to fight quickly. The distance between the 2 streets was gone in a flash, and the level 3 zombie finally appeared in front of them. Qiu was stunned on the spot, with one foot on the ground and the other on the footrest, looking at the level 3 zombie in front of him. He directly swore, "Fuck." Wang Qiushu poked her head out from behind. "What's wrong?" Then she was also stunned. At this moment, the 3 of them knew why the zombies in the south were so slow. Wang Qiushu pulled the corner of his clothes. "The monster has appeared. It seems that your tang monk meat is really popular. But, is this a crab spirit?" He opened his mouth and said after a while, "It should be." However, seeing that his body is still in human form, it is estimated that the zombie ate poisonous crabs, so it became like this. Wang Qiushu nodded. This crab must have come from that country and was previously contaminated by nuclear power. He nodded in agreement. The level 3 zombie in front of them was a humanoid crab. The left hand was a pliers the size of an arm, and the right hand was a thick claw. The claw alone was estimated to weigh dozens of kilograms. In addition to the 2 hands turning into pliers, the sides of the zombie's body also became wider, just like a crab shell. The head was bald, but it was shiny and looked quite hard. Looking at the other person's face, it should be an adult male. The 2 claws, which were almost as heavy as his body, dragged on the ground, causing his waist to bend down like a cooked lobster. Qiu was speechless after listening to the conversation between the 2 people. She turned around and said, "Why are you 2 still in the mood to chat? There are strong enemies in front and pursuers behind. What should we do?" He waved his hand. "Don't worry. Judging from his appearance, it will take a long time for him to catch up. I believe that by the time he catches up, we will have already run away." Due to the drag of the 2 claws, the zombies' movements were extremely slow, almost moving forward little by little. Moreover, he was not like a human being who could move forward, backward, left, right, and left at will, but like a crab, he could only walk sideways, so his movements were naturally slower. Because of this, he had the mind to chat with Wang Qiushu here. After all, looking at the appearance of the crab man opposite, it would take a long time for him to come to them. And after the crab man saw them, the level 3 aura he exuded could not frighten those of them who were used to big scenes. Wang Qiushu got out of the car and took the hammer of the earth, the transformation needle and the level 2 stamina from him. "Then I'll go up." He nodded. "Be careful." Wang Qiushu responded and began to transform. Qiu also came over at this time and stretched out her hand to look at him. "Where's mine?" He showed a puzzled expression. Qiu continued, "He doesn't look very strong." If possible, I want to kill him myself. Instead of waiting until he is about to die, I will finish him off. He shook his head. Don't be fooled by appearances. Anyone who can reach level 3 is not a good person. I can understand your idea, but let's see the situation first. If the opponent is really not very strong, I will leave it to you. Yuzilin heard this and took her hand back. Crabman watched Wang Qiushu transform and suddenly became more anxious. As if he was afraid that Wang Qiushu would compete with her for the head, he dragged his two big claws and walked towards Wang Qiushu. Of course, compared with his previous speed, it might be more appropriate to say that he rushed. Although Wang Qiushu looked relaxed when chatting just now, she was serious when facing the Crabman. This was her first opponent of the same level after she reached level 3, so she had to fight him well. Moreover, she had gone through a lot of blood and corpses during her upgrade, so she would not underestimate her opponent. Moreover, there were the previous examples of the big fish and the high-speed rail zombies. These level 3 zombies were not easy to deal with. For safety reasons, Wang Qiushu did not extend her arms. After all, the speed zombie had already shown it once before, and if she extended her arms, she might not be able to retract them in time, and then her arms would be broken. She swung the hammer of the earth and rushed towards the Crabman quickly, and the distance between the two sides was instantly shortened. Chapter 187 The Strength of Crabman. The Crabman was moving at this time, so he was facing Wang Qiushu sideways. However, his head turned slightly, and he obviously saw Wang Qiushu approaching quickly. When Wang Qiushu approached the Crabman, he jumped up directly, and the hammer of the earth hit the Crabman's head. Although this move looks simple, it works well. However, her level is the same as the Crabman, so there is no way to trigger a fatal blow. The Crabman turned around at this time, and the small claw on the left was raised to block the falling hammer of the earth. The big claw on the right swung out violently. With a dang sound, the hammer of the earth hit the small claw, but it didn't hurt at all, not even a scratch. Wang Qiushu was in the air at this time, so he didn't have time to dodge. He was hit by the big claw and flew out directly. Yuzilin hurriedly looked at Wang Qiushu, who fell to the ground with a worried look on her face. After all, being hit by such a big claw must be uncomfortable. However, Wang Qiushu quickly stood up with a relaxed look on his face, patted the dust off his body. Fortunately, the dark skirt has been upgraded and can block the attack of level 3 zombies, otherwise it would be very uncomfortable. However, I think you are not feeling well now either. When the Crabman swung his big claws to hit Wang Qiushu, he retreated several steps, as if he had been hit hard, and the dragging claws left 2 deep scratches on the ground. Black liquid flowed out of his mouth, but he didn't understand what had just happened. He didn't see Wang Qiushu make a move, and didn't even see anyone attacking him. Moreover, with his physical strength, he shouldn't be easily injured. Yuzilin looked at him in confusion, waiting for his answer. For some reason, she felt that he would know the answer. He had to explain. Wang Qiushu's dark skirt has a counter-attack feature, and there is a 40% chance that it can rebound the damage received. So, the Crabman was also beaten back just now. However, now it seems that he not only looks like a crab, but also his body. Yuzilin asked curiously, isn't his body almost the same as a crab? He shook his head. I'm not just talking about the appearance, but his body strength. Crustaceans have a substance called chitin, which is why their shells are so hard. Now this Crabman's body should also be made up of chitin, so it is so hard, even harder than the copper skin and iron bones of a level 3 zombie, and even Wang Qiushu's earth hammer can't hurt him. Yuzilin was immediately eager to try. It seems that this Crabman is not very fast in action. He is just a little stronger and his body is a little harder. If Qiushu and I join forces, we should be able to get rid of him soon. Besides, the pursuers behind us are also approaching us, so we must get rid of him as soon as possible. He shook his head when he heard it. No hurry, let's see the situation first. Yuzilin had no choice but to continue watching. After Wang Qiushu stood up, he quickly rushed towards the Crabman again. The Crabman was facing Wang Qiushu head on at this time, and his 2 pincers were also ready to attack Wang Qiushu at any time. Seeing that the two were about to meet as before, the crabman's two pincers were stretched to the maximum, ready to cut Wang Qiushu off in the waist. Suddenly, one of Wang Qiushu's arms stretched out, but he did not swing the hammer of the earth to hit the crabman, but stretched his bare hands to the sky. The crabman was stunned for a moment, and did not understand why Wang Qiushu did this. However, he did not look up. After all, the hand was empty. Even if it hit him, it would not cause much damage. At this time, Wang Qiushu's hand was on a building next to him, holding it tightly. Qiushu wondered, what is she going to do? She naturally knew that Wang Qiushu was not trying to escape, but she couldn't figure out what Wang Qiushu was going to do. Wang Qiushu was getting closer and closer to the crabman. Just when the two were about to face each other, her arms suddenly retracted, and she disappeared from the crabman. The crabman turned his head left and right, but did not see Wang Qiushu. Then he remembered the hand that had just been stretched out, and looked up. Wang Qiushu did rise up. When she reached the top, she let go, and kicked the wall with her feet. Her body, which was already falling, fell even faster, and the hammer of the earth in her hand was aimed at the crabman's head. Although the hammer of the earth was blessed with the power of lifting heavy objects, it was light in her hand, but with her current acceleration and the power of the hammer of the earth, she would definitely be able to give the crabman a hard time. When the crabman saw Wang Qiushu falling, it was too late to hide. However, his speed was not fast, and even if he knew it in advance, it would be difficult for him to dodge smoothly. In a hurry, he directly raised the small claw on his left side, and placed it across his head. He saw this scene and let out a howl. Qiushu asked, "What's wrong?" He shook his head and just replied, "I wonder if this crabman is left-handed." Qiushu replied, "It should be, otherwise why doesn't he use the big claw on the right to block it? Such a big claw should be able to withstand more damage." Soon, they knew whether the crabman was left-handed. Wang Qiushu's earth hammer hit the crabman's small claws directly, making a big dent. This was the result of her instant burst, otherwise it would probably not have caused such damage. It was precisely because the speed of the fall was too fast that she failed to adjust in time and hit the crabman's head. Otherwise it would have greatly injured the crabman. The crabman suffered this blow, and his whole face became distorted. Then, his big claws swung out violently and cut towards the handle of the earth hammer. This is because when Wang Qiushu fell, he was in an inverted position when he swung the earth hammer and hit the crabman's claws. Therefore, even if the crabman swung his claws, he could only attack the hammer of the earth, and could not attack Wang Qiushu directly. The moment the claws were about to cut towards the hammer handle, they suddenly clamped and closed. Everyone looked at that place, and Wang Qiushu was still standing upside down, and for a while, she did not have time to step back. Then there was a click and the hammer handle broke. Wang Qiushu fell directly down with half of the hammer handle in her hand, but she kicked the crabman directly, and the whole person flew backwards. At the same time, she did not forget to stretch out her arm, and fished back the soul-breaking sword in the air. The soul-breaking sword has always been integrated with the hammer of the earth. Now that the hammer of the earth is damaged, the soul-breaking sword actually fell out. Fortunately, the crabman did not react, otherwise the soul-breaking sword would also be gone. Chapter 188 Dealing with the Crabman. Wang Qiushu landed quickly, holding the soul-breaking knife in her hand, and looked at the crabman with a serious expression. The upper part of the earth hammer was still embedded in the crabman's claws, because it had been hit too deeply. The crabman clamped the earth hammer with his big claws, and took it out, then swung it towards Wang Qiushu. The earth hammer made a sound of breaking through the air in the air, and flew directly towards Wang Qiushu. Wang Qiushu quickly dodged, and the earth hammer hit a house behind her, smashing a big hole, which was enough to show the power of this attack. He looked at Qiushu at this time. "Do you still think the crabman is weak now?" Qiushu shook her head. The strength gap caused by the level gap was indeed not easy to make up. She couldn't help but think that if she was really caught by the crabman's big claws, even if there were protective gear to block it, she might suffer serious internal injuries, and there was no way to break free, and she might even be caught to death. However, she still said, "It's hard for Qiushu to kill him alone, right? How about I help divert the other party's attention and create an opportunity for her?" He shook his head. This is a battle for her alone, and if she needs our help, she will ask. Qiuzilan looked at Wang Qiushu again. Wang Qiushu rushed towards the crabman again with the soul-breaking knife, with an extremely fierce expression on her face. It seemed that the crabman had broken the hammer of the earth, and made her very angry. The crabman was still facing Wang Qiushu head on, with his two pincers constantly opening and closing, just waiting for Wang Qiushu to come. And after the previous blow, he was very confident in his body. After all, the other party spent so much effort just to smash a hole in his body, and failed to hurt the inside. Wang Qiushu rushed straight towards the crabman, looking like he was ready to fight head on. The crabman protected his chest with his left pincer, and raised his right big claw high, so he could clamp or smash. As the big claw was raised, the crabman also stood up straight. He was actually about 2 meters and 5 meters tall. With his broad body, he gave people a great pressure. Although Wang Qiushu was also quite tall, her body was relatively thin, so she looked like an ant trying to stop a tree. However, just when the two were about to face each other, Wang Qiushu suddenly leaned back and slid under the crabman with a shovel. At the same time, the soul-breaking sword was raised and swept across. The crabman did not expect Wang Qiushu to do this, but he quickly reacted and smashed down with his big claw. But it was too late. The big claw hit the ground with a loud bang. The ground was directly shattered, smoke and dust flew, but it failed to hit Wang Qiushu. At this time, Wang Qiushu had come behind the crabman. Her eyebrows slightly frowned. Just now, she actually wanted to start from the crabman's weakest point and cut him in half. Who knew that this crabman's whole body was so hard? Her knife just now only cut his pants and did not cause any substantial damage. Qiuzilan was facing the crabman at this time and quickly turned her head away with a blushing face. After all, the thing in front of her was a bit eye-catching. The crabman quickly thought of Wang Qiushu behind him, so he turned around quickly and smashed down with his big claws, ready to catch Wang Qiushu off guard. His pupils shrank instantly, and it seemed that the inflexible turning just now was all pretended by the crabman. Of course, it is also possible that such a quick turn would cause great harm to the crabman, so he would not use it normally. Wang Qiushu was behind the crabman, always on guard against his movements. Therefore, although the crabman was caught off guard, she still dodged it easily. The crabman's big claws fell to the ground again, and Wang Qiushu jumped on the spot to avoid the smash, and then stepped on the crabman's big claws again, and the whole person flew directly up. Then, the soul-breaking knife in her hand, chopped straight at the crabman's neck. With a dang sound, the soul-breaking knife was like it was slashing on extremely hard steel, and it didn't penetrate at all, leaving only a white knife mark. The crabman also reacted at this time, and angrily waved his small pincers to clamp towards Wang Qiushu. Wang Qiushu quickly kicked the crabman, which just triggered the shaping. Although she couldn't kick the crabman, she adjusted her body to a perfect angle and barely avoided the crabman's clamp. The crabman's attack missed, and she took advantage of the kick to jump behind the crabman again. Before the crabman turned around, Wang Qiushu slashed out with a knife. However, this time she didn't cut the crabman's body or the crabman's pincers, but slashed at the crabman's elbow joint. Sure enough, although the crabman's body was covered with chitin and was extremely hard, there was no chitin at the joints. Otherwise, the pincers would not be able to be so flexible. However, the soul-breaking knife only cut most of it and failed to directly remove the crabman's pincers. Crabman felt the pain and quickly turned around while swinging his left pincer. However, Wang Qiushu held the soul-breaking knife tightly, and the soul-breaking knife was firmly embedded in the joint. Therefore, when Crabman turned around, Wang Qiushu was still behind him. He smiled with relief and said, "The winner is decided." Qiuzilan turned around after hearing this, but happened to face Crabman again, and her face quickly turned red. However, she was also very curious about what Wang Qiushu did, so she had to cover her face with her hands and watch through her fingers. Wang Qiushu quickly pulled out the soul-breaking knife, and then cut along the gap just now. With a bang, Crabman's big claw fell directly to the ground, and a stream of black liquid flowed out of the wound. Crabman was angry, and turned around quickly, and smashed Wang Qiushu with his small pincer. Qiuzilan was a little confused for a moment. What happened just now? How could Crabman's big claw be removed just when she stopped looking? He patted Qiuzilan on the shoulder and sighed. Watch carefully, learn well. Your kung fu is not bad, but your experience in dealing with zombies is still not enough. Qiuzilan nodded when she heard it. In this respect, she was indeed no match for Wang Qiushu. And without a big claw, the Crabman was naturally no match for Wang Qiushu. While dodging, she successively removed the 2 legs of the Crabman and finally cut off the remaining small claw. At this time, the Crabman was lying on the ground. Except for the loss of his arms and calves, he was not actually hurt much. At least he would not die for a while. Wang Qiushu did not take action, but looked at the 2 of them. He walked over directly. The speed type zombies are almost here. There is not enough time to kill the Crabman. Let's hide first. Chapter 189 Ambush Speed Zombies. Not long after, a female zombie with claws on her hands appeared at the end of the street. She ran very fast, running several meters in a second. However, when she saw the Crabman lying on the ground, she suddenly stopped. The Crabman was lying on the ground, still struggling with his broken arm. But after sensing the sudden appearance of the female zombie, he stopped. He turned his head frantically, trying to get a glimpse of his opponent, but he couldn't do it because his body was too big. The female zombie observed the Crabman for a while, and then looked around vigilantly. When she was about to arrive here, the breath that could make her stronger suddenly disappeared, and the breath of that fellow zombie also disappeared. And another fellow zombie appeared on the ground, and it was a disabled fellow zombie. She sneered, as if she was extremely disdainful of the Crabman. Looking at the Crabman's appearance, he must have failed to kill the other party, but was killed instead. However, what she couldn't figure out was why the other party didn't kill the Crabman directly. Was it because it was too late, or was it a trap? The 2 people hiding on the rooftop next to them didn't even dare to breathe, and they didn't move at all, just like corpses, and even their heartbeats slowed down unconsciously. The female zombie observed the surroundings for a while, but still didn't find anything wrong, let alone the aura that would make her stronger if she killed him. However, she could feel that her kind was approaching here in the distance. If that happens, she won't be able to enjoy the Crabman alone. Thinking of this, the female zombie couldn't help but lick it with her tongue, and then walked slowly towards the Crabman with a happy step. The Crabman made a series of ho-ho sounds, trying to stop the female zombie from approaching, and at the same time he used the half remaining claws to support the floor, trying to retreat, but he couldn't drag his bulky body after all. The female zombie didn't care about the intimidation of the Crabman at all, and walked to the side of the Crabman step by step, looking at the Crabman with interest, as if she was looking at a piece of delicious food. She put her finger on her lips, thinking about where to start. The Crabman had given up struggling at this time, but he desperately looked at the roof of the house on the left, which was where Wang Qiushu and the others disappeared just now. The female zombie couldn't help but feel strange, and looked over there. Soon, as if she thought of something, she turned back to look at the Crabman. He was on the roof, and saw this scene through Qiuzilan's perspective, and he was relieved immediately. Fortunately, he didn't hide there, otherwise he might have been caught by the female zombie. Just now, he and Wang Qiushu did climb onto the roof, but that was just an illusion for the Crabman to see. In fact, after the 2 of them went up, they went around to the blind spot of the Crabman's vision, and then directly moved to the roof on the other side. In this way, even if the female zombie really went to look for him in the original direction, it would just be the opposite. However, the female zombie did not go to find him directly. After all, the breath had disappeared. It was not certain whether she could find him or not, and it was not certain whether she could still advance if she found and killed him. Maybe, it would take some effort in the middle. How could it be better than a ready-made one? The female zombie squatted down, picked up half of the Crabman's claw, licked her lips, and then began to suck the Crabman's claw. The Crabman's claw was already flowing with black liquid, and the female zombie sucked it directly into her mouth. Some of the residue flowed down the corners of the female zombie's mouth, and ripped onto the ground. Not long after, the female zombie stopped and smacked her lips, as if she had tasted an incredible delicacy. The crabman's claw was still struggling at first, but couldn't break free. Until later, it slowly stopped moving. At this time, the big claw was almost empty, and even black meat filaments could be seen inside. The crabman's face looked like he had no desire to live, or it would be more appropriate to say that he was squeezed dry. The female zombie held the big claw in both hands, but did not continue. Instead, she turned her head left and right to look, but still did not find anything wrong. Then, she bit the big claw, and actually bit off a piece of it. I don't know if it's because her teeth are good, or because the crabman's claws have become brittle without the black liquid inside. However, the crabman has completely laid down. Even after being bitten, he still didn't move, as if he had given up struggling. The female zombie took another bite, and then one bite after another, as if she was ready to eat the crabman alive. As time went by, her vigilance gradually dropped. She bit the crabman in big mouthfuls, and soon she ate the whole crabman's claw into her stomach. It was not until then that he said to Qiuzilan, "Do it." Qiuzilan wanted to do it several times before, but because she didn't get his order, she could only hold back. At this time, receiving his order, Qiuzilan couldn't help it anymore, and directly waved the dragon-killing spear and stabbed the female zombie's head. The dragon-killing spear passed through the air and stabbed the female zombie. The female zombie was still unaware and was still biting the crabman's body. The crabman seemed to have noticed something and turned his head to look at the air next to him. When the dragon slayer spear was about to pierce the female zombie, she seemed to have discovered something wrong and suddenly jumped back. However, this jump was still a little late. The dragon slayer spear pierced the female zombie's face directly, leaving a scratch, and black liquid began to flow out. The female zombie looked ahead vigilantly. She only realized the blow at the last moment. If she hadn't dodged quickly, her head might have been pierced now. Although she might not die, she would definitely be seriously injured. However, she was sure that the opponent's level was not as good as hers, otherwise she would definitely not be able to dodge the blow just now. The crabman made a ho-ho sound at this time, as if he was laughing at the female zombie. The female zombie was so angry that she stepped on the crabman's foot, but failed to cause any damage. She looked at the empty air in front of her again, then dragged the crabman's leg with one hand and actually started running back. At this time, Wang Qiushu, who had taken drugs and transformed again, descended from the roof with a soul-breaking knife, blocking the way of the female zombie. Qiuzilan also came out of thin air, blocking the way back for the female zombie, and formed a pincer attack with Wang Qiushu. If it was her, it would be better to attack in stealth. However, Wang Qiushu was there too, and if she was invisible, Wang Qiushu would not be able to know her location, and it would be bad if she was accidentally injured. If he was relied on to transmit information, there would be a lag after all, and there would be no way to provide real-time feedback. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190, Fighting the Female Zombie. When the female zombie saw Wang Qiushu, she stopped immediately and threw the crabman in her hand to the ground. She was too familiar with Wang Qiushu's breath. It was because Wang Qiushu appeared next to the breath just now that she rushed over. However, later Wang Qiushu's breath and the breath disappeared at the same time, and she thought something had happened. She carefully observed Wang Qiushu for a while, but found that Wang Qiushu was still level 3 and had not risen to level 4. She was relieved. If Wang Qiushu rose to level 4, it meant that the breath just now had been killed by Wang Qiushu, and she herself was even less likely to be Wang Qiushu's opponent, and it was very likely that she would be confessed here. She couldn't help but sneer. It seemed that the breath had indeed escaped, which meant that she still had a chance. Moreover, there were other level 3 zombies rushing here. As long as she delayed for a while, even if she couldn't eat the whole crabman, at least she could get a part of it. Maybe, she could kill Wang Qiushu and the level 2 zombie behind him, and then hide with these 3 corpses, and then she could enjoy them alone. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but lick her lips. When the crab man sensed Wang Qiuyushu, he immediately used his remaining left pincer to support himself on the ground, trying to get up, but he obviously couldn't do it, so he had to lie back down. However, his head was still shaking, left and right uneasily. Wang Qiuyushu couldn't help but snort coldly when she saw the female zombie's actions. Although she didn't know what the other party meant, it was obvious that she looked down on her. So, she rushed over directly with the soul-breaking sword. At the same time, Qiuyuzilan also rushed up waving the dragon-slaying spear. The two formed a pincer attack and attacked the female zombie at the same time. The female zombie looked back and forth and then ran to the side when the weapons on both sides were about to hit her. The two missed at the same time, and when they looked again, the female zombie was already a few meters away. Wang Qiuyushu frowned, and Qiuyuzilan also felt a little frustrated. The opponent was too flexible and could actually dodge their attacks in such a limited time. He looked at the terrain around him and said, "Let's see if we can lure her or force her into a corner. If not, let's just retreat. Those zombies should be here soon. After all, this is on the street, and the opponent is a speed type, so there is too much space for dodging. And the two of them are not speed players. If they can't hit each other, it will be meaningless." Wang Qiuyushu pointed the soul-breaking knife at the female zombie. "That won't work. I can't swallow this breath if I don't kill her." Qiuyuzilan nodded in agreement. "I want to see how powerful the level 3 zombies are." He had no choice but to say, "Then you guys hurry up. I will keep a close eye on the situation of those zombies. By the way, Zilan, your transformation time is almost up. Remember to take drugs." Qiuyuzilan nodded and took out a level 1 physical medicine from her pocket and threw it into her mouth. Wang Qiuyushu once again rushed towards the female zombie with the soul-breaking knife, and Qiuyuzilan followed. He was distracted, paying attention to the battle in the field and reminding them to dodge at any time. He was also looking at the feedback from the scanner. The scanner was all red, but the low-level zombies were still walking in front. Maybe it was because the female zombie had come beforehand and they felt that there was little hope. Or maybe it was because he took the title of Thousand Corpse Slayer and his aura disappeared, so the zombies had given up, and driving the low-level zombies over was just to check. After the first test, the female zombie seemed to be sure that Wang Qiuyushu and the other person were not speed type. So, even though the two rushed over aggressively, the female zombie still did not dodge or escape, but went straight to meet them. However, because Wang Qiuyushu rushed in front, the female zombie's idea of killing Qiuyuzilan first fell through. Qiuyuzilan also knew the difference in strength between the two sides, and she was holding a spear, not good at close combat, so she would not rush up rashly. Wang Qiuyushu used a long-handled soul-breaking knife. After all, the opponent's claws were also very long, and it would be difficult to attack the opponent otherwise. When they were about to meet, she swung her knife down. The female zombie had a smile on her lips, but it suddenly disappeared when she was about to be hit. Wang Qiuyushu was stunned for a moment and quickly drew her knife back. But it was too late. The female zombie attacked directly from the side, and her 5 claws like sharp blades pierced Wang Qiuyushu's abdomen. Wang Qiuyushu would not take this blow in vain, so she drew her knife back and chopped it down at the same time. If the female zombie did not retract her claws, then both sides would be injured at most. Of course, this premises that she has no protection on her body. In fact, she is still protected by the dark skirt, so this wave is absolutely a win. However, the female zombie was obviously not prepared to exchange injuries for injuries, so she actually retracted her claws when she was about to hit Wang Qiuyushu. But at the same time, her other claw stretched out again. And this time, even if Wang Qiuyushu wanted to change the direction of the knife, it was too late. In fact, Wang Qiuyushu couldn't do it at all. At this time, a shiny spear came from behind Wang Qiuyushu, stabbing straight at the claws of the female zombie. The cold light on the tip of the spear showed that it was not easy to mess with. The female zombie showed a trace of anger on her face, and she pulled back again. The crab man on the ground made a ho-ho sound, not knowing whether he was happy that the female zombie was defeated, or mocking these people for pecking at each other. After Qiuyuzilan raised her gun to force the female zombie back, she stood beside Wang Qiuyushu. The two looked at each other and felt that this opponent was too flexible, so it was very tricky. If it was a direct confrontation, they would have no problem beating each other, and the crab man was the best example. Wan Qiushu glanced at the house with a big hole smashed by the hammer of the earth, and then said, "Let's attack from both sides, and see if we can force her into that house." Qiushu glanced at the house and nodded. As long as the female zombie enters that kind of narrow space, no matter how much she dodges and moves, she can't be as easy as she is now. By then, she and Wan Qiushu will be able to deal with each other properly. The female zombie didn't know what the two were thinking, nor did she care, but attacked again. This time, Qiushu and Wan Qiushu were on the same level, so she attacked Qiushu directly, picking the weak ones. Qiushu was not afraid at all, and shook the spear in her hand. The spearhead swayed with the spear body, drawing circles in front of her. No matter which direction the female zombie attacked from, it could not easily reach her. Chapter 191 No Way Out. The female zombie felt the scar on her face hurting again. She was injured by the gun tip just now. However, relying on her speed advantage, she still rushed towards Qiushu. Qiushu saw the female zombie rushing over, but still did not change her offensive and stabbed forward, still drawing a circle. Wan Qiushu stayed by Qiushu's side to prevent any accidents. After all, Qiushu was only level 2, and it would be very troublesome if the opponent got close to her. The female zombie suddenly disappeared at the moment when she was about to be scratched by the gun tip. When she appeared again, she was already in the middle of the gun body. She only needed to rush forward again, and she could get to Qiushu's side, and then her claws could pierce Qiushu's body. At this time, the spear in Qiushu's hand suddenly shook and swept horizontally while drawing a circle. With a pop, the clawed zombie's forward momentum was directly blocked, and the whole person was swept away. He who had been paying attention to this side could not help but secretly shout good. Wan Qiushu even looked up at Qiushu. It seems that the proficiency of this weapon is quite high. However, this did not cause too much damage to the female zombie. After she flew out, she quickly stood up again, and then looked at Qiushu fiercely. She didn't expect that she would suffer a loss at the hands of a level 2 zombie. In the past, these level 2 zombies were just her food. Qiushu and Wan Qiushu looked at each other, and then rushed out from both sides. One of them held a knife and the other held a gun, and they rushed towards the female zombie with great momentum. The female zombie also went up to meet him. He glanced at the scanner, and estimated that it would take a while for those level 3 zombies to get here. And looking at the situation below, he couldn't help shaking his head. It is said that 3 women make a drama. It seems that there is no way to solve the problem today without a winner among the 3 of them. Not to mention whether the 2 are willing to leave. Even if they want to leave, it is estimated that the female zombie may not let them go. The 3 soon met. The female zombie retreated step by step under the attack of Wan Qiushu and Qiushu, but she didn't actually suffer any damage. Every time she was about to be injured, she could dodge in time, making the 2 people's attacks in vain. However, the 2 did not give up. According to the original plan, they slowly pushed the female zombie towards the house step by step. The female zombie did not notice this, but retreated step by step under the attack of the 2. The main reason was that the 2 people only attacked from the front and did not attack from both sides. So for the female zombie, the dodge range on both sides was still quite large, and naturally she would not mind being forced to retreat. When the 2 were about to approach the house, they suddenly changed their offensive and attacked from both sides. However, this attack also took care of the front at the same time, which can be said to have blocked the road in front of the female zombie. The female zombie naturally understood this, so she subconsciously retreated. The next second, half of the female zombie's body appeared in the hole of the house, and the remaining half remained outside. The 2 of them were delighted, and they waved their weapons at the same time, ready to rush over and completely block the female zombie in. Then they would be able to catch the turtle in the jar. At this time, the female zombie suddenly rushed out, and then her claws were inserted into the wall. Then, the 2 claws crossed and inserted into the wall, and soon climbed up like climbing a rock. The 2 people who were originally excited stood there in a daze. Wan Qiushu murmured, "I didn't expect that claws could be used in this way. Qi looked at herself and then at Wang Qiushu. It seems that neither of us has this ability to fly over the eaves and walls, but it should be difficult for her to dodge now. Otherwise I will throw the spear out like a javelin and try it. Although Wang Qiushu can stretch his arms and move between buildings, he still lacks some flexibility compared to the female zombie, not to mention using this method to fight. Wang Qiushu shook his head when he heard it. No, let me try first, otherwise you won't even have a weapon later, and it will be even more difficult to fight. Qi looked at Wang Qiushu, waiting for Wang Qiushu to make a move. Wang Qiushu stretched out his hand holding the soul-breaking knife and chopped at the female zombie hanging on the outer wall. While climbing the rock, the female zombie had been paying attention to the movements of the two people below and naturally knew that Wang Qiushu had attacked her. However, at the moment when the soul-breaking knife was about to hit her, the female zombie pulled out her two claws at the same time, and then her figure disappeared. The next second, she appeared at a higher place and continued to climb up. Wang Qiushu had no choice but to retract his arm. It seems that there is no way she can maintain her original speed on the wall. Qi sighed, and at the same time, she was glad that she didn't throw the Dragon Slayer spear Ashley. Wang Qiushu thought for a while, why don't I go up directly and see if I can force her down? Qi shook her head. Even if we force her down, we can't get rid of her in a short time. If the zombies behind chase us, it will be bad. Wang Qiushu frowned and then remembered a speed type zombie he killed when he was upgraded to level 2. That zombie also had sharp claws, and at that time Li Wending used rebound to directly bounce the opponent to death. So she asked directly, do you think it's possible to kill her in the same way? He replied, although the chance of rebounding is higher now, this female zombie is not the brainless zombie before. So, even if you offer your neck, she may not cut you directly. Moreover, the risk of doing so is too great, and there is no need to take such a risk. Once you make a mistake, you won't even have a chance to dodge. Wang Qiushu sighed. Okay, then, we are ready to retreat now. Then, Qi directly used the Dragon Slayer spear to penetrate the crabman's big claws, and then penetrated from the other side, as if it was hung on a barbecue grill. And Wang Qiushu took him down from the roof. Then, he and Qi rode side by side. Both of them held the handlebars with one hand and the gun with the other hand, dragging the crabman staggering forward. Wang Qiushu sat behind him, always alert to the female zombie to prevent her from chasing after him. When the female zombie saw the combination of these two zombies and one person, a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes. But her eyes flickered for a while, and she didn't chase after him. She didn't want to be skewered on a spear like Crabman. Not long after they left, a large group of zombies arrived here, but they only saw a mess on the ground and the black liquid left by the level 3 zombies on the ground. Although those zombies were eager to move, they didn't dare to rush up and lick it. Later, the level 3 zombies arrived one after another, but they didn't see anything and finally left. The female zombie had already disappeared. Chapter 192, The Outsider. After the three of them left, they rode for a distance before they lifted their transformation. Qi couldn't even lift the hand holding the gun. When she loosened her hand, the gun and the crabman fell to the ground. Wang Qiushu lay on his back. She was the most tired one today. His condition was not very good, but he still managed to put the gun away and then dragged the two into a house. With the soul-breaking sword, it was easy to open a door. However, the hammer of the earth was damaged, and it was not very convenient to use. Wang Qiushu was too tired to move, and Qi asked, are those zombies still chasing us? His scanner was on all the time, and he shook his head when he heard it. No, don't worry. Then, Wang Qiushu thought of the crabman and asked, along the way, the crabman shed a lot of black liquid. Will it attract them here? He sneered. If low-level zombies come, I can still support them for a while. If they are level 3 zombies, they will definitely not dare to follow rashly. After all, there is already a precedent here. They don't need to come here to die for a corpse. The two of them were relieved. Although the crabman was dangling on the spear like a barbecue skewer all the way, and a lot of black liquid shed, he was not actually dead, and his mouth still made a series of ambiguous ho-ho sounds. Qi thought about it, and struggled to get up. He hurriedly stopped her. "What do you want to do?" Qiuzilan replied, "I have to kill him quickly and reach level 3. In this way, even if there is any accident later, Qiushu and I are both level 3, so we will not be completely helpless." He pushed her back directly. "You should rest first and wait until your physical strength recovers." Qiuzilan asked curiously, "Why?" He sneered, "You don't think he has no power to resist in this state now? Don't forget the big fish before. These high level zombies have many tricks up their sleeves. And from the ability he showed in the battle, he should still have some skills. So, it will be safer to kill him after you transform." Qiuzilan's eyes flickered, thinking about whether to listen to him. Wang Qiushu said directly, "Listen to him, it's definitely right." Qiuzilan lay back directly after hearing this, and rested with peace of mind. At this time, a gust of wind blew. In addition to the moisture in the wind, there was also a salty smell, which was really unpleasant. Wang Qiushu frowned. "Are we near the sea?" He smiled. "Where do you think Crabman came from?" Wang Qiushu nodded. Qiuzilan asked quickly, "Are there other zombies like Crabman?" He shook his head. "Not very likely. If I were Crabman, I would kill all my opponents in the cradle. Think about how hard the shell is. If the opponent grows up, Crabman may not be able to beat him. So, since he is the only level 3 in the south, there shouldn't be other similar ones." Then, he added, "Fortunately, Crabman is not a female crab, otherwise, he might breed a bunch of little crabs, and we would have a headache." Wang Qiushu and Qiuzilan imagined the scene and couldn't help but get goosebumps all over their bodies. He felt the sea breeze on his face and closed his eyes. Facing the sea, spring flowers are blooming. Unfortunately, the seawater is not clean now, and there are probably many mutated creatures in it. Otherwise we could have a seafood meal. Wang Qiushu felt a chill. Even if there really are some, I can't eat them. I can't even look directly at the crab race. When I see crabs, I will think of crabmen, which is disgusting. He shook his head. "I don't believe it. I'm afraid you will enjoy eating it the most at that time." Wang Qiushu looked at him and made an "I'm super fierce" expression. Qiuzilan suddenly said, "At this time, the female zombie has probably set her sights on us, but this kind of speed type player is really annoying. How should we deal with it? Otherwise, I will also evolve my speed in the next stage." He thought about it, waved his hand and said, "No need. Even if you are faster than her, it will only result in a chase. Even if you can kill her, it will still take a lot of effort. Besides, the baji you practice is a tough way, and speed requires lightness, so there is no way to combine them." Qiuzilan nodded. "That's right." Wang Qiushu said, "At this time, I have an idea. We can set a trap in advance and wait for her to take the bait. Or, we can make a net and directly trap her, so that she won't be able to run away." Qiuzilan frowned. "Ordinary nets should not be able to withstand her claws." Wang Qiushu chuckled, then looked at him. "Did you forget that he can upgrade things? Wouldn't it be enough to upgrade a tough fishing net?" Qiuzilan nodded in agreement. This method is feasible. He was speechless. Are you too stupid, or are the zombies stupid? If the fishing net is small, it will be difficult to cover the opponent before they escape. If the fishing net is big, the opponent will see through it at a glance, and will not be fooled at all. As for the trap, it is even more difficult. These high-level zombies have a certain IQ, and are not so easily fooled. Moreover, it is even more difficult to lure the opponent in and catch him. Wang Qiushu lay back directly, looking like he had lost all hope in life. "You made such a genius plan of mine become useless. I'm so sad." Qiuzilan frowned, and began to think hard about countermeasures. Suddenly, Wang Qiushu sat up again. "I thought of it. You can upgrade a fishing net in a targeted manner, just like upgrading the knives before. Upgrading a fishing net that can grow, or shrink at will. Wouldn't that be fine?" He looked at Wang Qiushu expressionlessly. "You are really a genius. Let's not talk about whether you can do it or not. Even if you can, it will take time for you to throw it over. The small fishing net is light, and the opponent may have already run away as soon as you throw it. Will they wait for you to grow bigger?" Wang Qiushu was completely at a loss now. "Then what do you say we should do? How about I upgrade the evolution speed next time? It should be okay with the hammer of the earth." He shook his head. Actually, I have a better idea. Wang Qiushu asked quickly. What is it? Qiuzilan also looked over. He looked at Wang Qiushu. That is to find a level 4 spider, so that you can kill it and gain its abilities. If everything goes well, you will be able to spray silk in the future. In this way, as long as you spray it unexpectedly in the battle, you can stick to the opponent. Wang Qiushu looked at him with a strange look. You like non-human women? He waved his hand. No, why do you say that? Wang Qiushu snorted. Then you still want me to become a spider? Chapter 193 Weird Flaw. The atmosphere froze instantly. Qiuzilan looked at the two people in confusion. She found that she didn't understand what the two were talking about at all. After a while, he reacted and patted Wang Qiushu's forehead. Don't think about those things every day. I just let you inherit the other's ability, not let you become like Crabman. Wang Qiushu covered his forehead. What if? Isn't Crabman the best example? Qiuzilan only then roughly understood what the two were talking about. Wang Qiushu continued, and spiders don't spit silk from their mouths, but from their butts. He slapped his forehead helplessly. Okay, let's see if I can turn you into a silkworm, so that you can spit silk from your mouth. Then you can also cocoon yourself, and finally turn into a fat and big moth and run out. Wang Qiushu waved his hands repeatedly. I don't want to. It is said that silkworms and moths can't fly at all, because they are too fat. So even if I want to change, I have to become a butterfly, which is beautiful and can fly. Qiuzilan interrupted with a serious face. Then if I kill Crabman later, wouldn't it be possible to inherit his ability and become like him? He nodded. Qiuzilan's face suddenly became more serious, turned his head, and looked at Crabman lying on the ground without asking any more questions. Wang Qiushu pushed him. Don't listen to his nonsense. Whether to inherit the ability is decided by him. If you don't want to become like Crabman, just don't inherit the corresponding ability. Qiuzilan looked at him with hope in her eyes. He nodded again. Qiuzilan finally breathed a sigh of relief. He smiled and said, it's just a joke. It's not only ugly to become like that, but it will also affect your usual actions. Qiuzilan nodded. When she heard that, she didn't want to become like Crabman. After resting for a while, Qiuzilan looked at him and said, I'm ready. He took out a transformation needle. Fortunately, the two of them had killed a lot of low-level zombies just now, so they now had enough experience. Wang Qiushu was eager to try. What about mine? Should I transform? He shook his head. No, you just stay aside. He has no ability to resist. He shouldn't be able to do anything. Wang Qiushu was a little disappointed, but he still walked to the door, sword drawn. Then I'll stop him here. I won't let him get away. After Qiuzilan transformed, she came to the side of the Crabman with the dragon killing spear, then looked back at him. The Crabman's shell seems very hard. Should I poke it directly with the gun? He nodded. It doesn't matter how hard it is, just poke it slowly. Anyway, he can't run away. Qiuzilan thought about it, swung the dragon killing spear in a circle, and then smashed it on the Crabman's head. With a pop, the Crabman's head was still intact. His eyes glared at Qiuzilan, and his mouth made a series of ho-ho sounds. Qiuzilan frowned. Wang Qiushu shouted, just stab it. The spear tip is so sharp, it should be much faster than you smashing it like this. It's a pity that the hammer of the earth is broken, otherwise it would be faster if I lent it to you. Qiuzilan nodded, then turned her wrist, and stabbed out with the spear continuously and violently. The cold light stabbed the Crabman's head continuously. Even at such a speed, each stab was still in the same place, which was enough to show Qiuzilan's skill. When she put away the gun, she could see a small hole on the Crabman's head. As long as she opened her mouth, the next thing would be easy. Qiuzilan showed a hint of joy on her face. In this way, she would be able to upgrade quickly. His brows were slightly frowned, because the Crabman's reaction was a little too calm. Although he made a ho-ho sound and glared at Qiuzilan, it didn't look like the performance of a level 3 zombie dying. Moreover, he always felt that the sound made when the Crabman's head was stabbed was a little wrong. Qiuzilan adjusted his breathing and then fired another round of guns. The hole became bigger and bigger under the impact of the gun head. Finally, Qiuzilan swung a gun, and the gun head went straight through the crab man's head and stabbed into the ground. Black liquid flowed out of the corner of the crab man's mouth, and his eyes gradually became dim. His head was more like a smashed shell, covered with various cracks, and was cracking little by little. At the same time, black liquid also flowed out along the hole opened by the gun head. Wang Qiushu patted his chest. This crab man doesn't seem to be that good. He was dealt with so easily. I thought something would happen. Qiuzilan frowned slightly. I don't seem to feel that I have upgraded. Does this upgrade have to take effect after a while? He shook his head. In fact, he didn't receive the message sent by the system, so he shouted, "You two be careful, this crab man is not dead yet." Wang Qiushu was stunned for a moment, and quickly reacted, holding the knife tightly and guarding the door. Qiuzilan pulled out the gun, then thought about it, and directly inserted it under the crab man's body, and then picked it up with force. As a result, the body of the crab man was much lighter than Qiuzilan expected. Under her great force, it flew up directly, and then quickly fell to the ground, and began to break with a snap. Wang Qiushu shouted at him at this time, "Stand back a little, you are the weakest here." He didn't move when he heard it, but said, "Pick up the body of the crab man to the side. I just saw something wrong down there." Qiuzilan followed her instructions, and picked up the body of the crab man. Sure enough, she found that the floor below was a little different from the surrounding area. Wang Qiushu stood far away, so he didn't see anything wrong. "What's wrong with the floor?" he said directly. "Try to poke it with your spear." Qiuzilan hesitated for a moment, and then the spear went straight into the ground. Something that no one expected happened. The spear was like it was stuck in a pile of sand, and it actually went halfway in. And the floor even fluctuated a little, which was obviously different from the surrounding ground. Qiuzilan was shocked, fearing that the spear would be stuck in it and couldn't get out, so she quickly pulled it out. After the spear was pulled out, the ground slowly returned to its original state without leaving any trace, let alone the hole caused by the spearhead. Wang Qiushu was surprised and said, "How could this happen? It's too magical." He touched his chin and thought for a while. Needless to say, it must be the work of the crab man. "By the way, try the first hit again." Qiuzilan looked at him. "Where to hit?" He pointed at the floor. "Right there. Just hit it anywhere. Try it first, and see the effect." Qiuzilan nodded, then swung the Dragon Slayer spear and smashed it down. Chapter 194, Evolution of Stealth Ability. With a pop, the Dragon Slayer spear fell to the floor, and the ground began to fluctuate. This time, the Dragon Slayer spear did not go in, but it was more like it hit the water surface, and the contact between the gun body and the floor could be clearly seen. Apart from that, there was no other difference. He shook his head. "Come again." Hearing this, Qiuzilan began to accumulate strength and smashed it again. This time the fluctuation was even stronger than before, but still nothing happened. Wang Qiushu interrupted. Could it be that this was made by the crab man to divert our attention, and he actually ran away a long time ago? He did not answer. Qiuzilan smashed it again, and still nothing unexpected happened. Then, she smashed it again and again, like crazy. Seeing this, Wang Qiushu did not stop it, but looked around vigilantly to prevent any changes. When Qiuzilan smashed it for the 10th time, something suddenly jumped out of the floor, about 1 meter long. However, due to the speed, several people did not have time to see the other party clearly. After the thing jumped out, it glanced at Qiuzilan, and then rushed out. He shouted directly, "Stop him." Wang Qiushu replied, "Okay," and tightened the soul-breaking knife in her hand. She wanted to chop him on the head, but after thinking about it, she held the knife horizontally, so that she only needed to chop the opponent in half. Otherwise Qiuzilan would not be able to upgrade. While the thing was running away, several people finally saw his face clearly. It was a smaller version of the crab man. No wonder they failed to kill the crab man just now. It turned out that he had escaped. However, although the crab man was proportionally reduced, the claws did not account for a large proportion of the body at this time, so his movements were much faster. Soon, Wang Qiushu and the crab man were about to face each other. The soul-breaking knife in her hand was swung out and chopped directly at the crab man's waist. At this time, the crabman suddenly opened his mouth, and then a small bubble came out. Wang Qiushu sneered, "Is he scared by me?" and spit bubbles. As a result, the next second, the bubble quickly grew larger and directly enveloped Wang Qiushu. She was stunned for a moment, and quickly swung the knife at the bubble. However, the first blow failed to break the bubble. After several cuts, she heard a pop sound, and the whole bubble burst and disappeared, and she returned to the ground again. At this time, the crabman had already rushed out for a distance. Qiuzilin and him were still standing in the original place, because when the crabman rushed out, he did not know what means he used to directly change the floor to the same as before. In order not to get stuck, neither of them rushed out. You know, the floor is cement underneath, and tiles on top. If it really gets stuck and then solidifies, who knows if it will get stuck and never get out again. Seeing that the crabman was running farther and farther, Qiuzilin grabbed the Dragon Slayer spear and swung it out like a javelin. After Wang Qiushu came out of the bubble, she was chasing the crabman. Suddenly, she heard a whistling sound and saw a long spear passing behind her and directly inserted into the crabman's head, nailing the crabman to the ground. The crabman struggled for a while at first, but soon he was completely motionless. Wang Qiushu walked over quickly and pulled out the Dragon Slayer spear, then walked back. At this time, the floor had returned to its original state, and the two walked out. Wang Qiushu looked at the crabman on the Dragon Slayer spear and asked, "Is he really dead this time, or is he faking his death?" The two answered at the same time, "He's really dead." Wang Qiushu looked at him, then at Qiuzilin, and then handed the Dragon Slayer spear over. "I'll give it back to you." Qiuzilin took the Dragon Slayer spear and threw it. The crabman's body slid directly off the Dragon Slayer spear and fell to the ground with a pop. He asked at this time, "You have already reached level 3. What ability do you want to upgrade this time?" Qiuzilin said directly, "Can you strengthen my invisibility so that the people I come into contact with can also become invisible?" Just now, she originally wanted to set an ambush with Wang Qiushu. As a result, it was discovered that apart from herself and the things she carried, there was no way to make Wang Qiushu invisible, so she had to set an ambush alone. He replied, "Wait a minute, I'll try it, but I don't know if it will work." Qiuzilin nodded. He shouted directly, "System, can you evolve Qiuzilin's invisibility ability so that she can make others invisible?" System, ding, assist Qiuzilin to evolve invisibility successfully and can make at most one person invisible. He didn't expect it to work and then said to Qiuzilin, "Okay, try it." Qiuzilin put her hand on Wang Qiushu's body, and the next second the two disappeared directly on the spot. After a while, he felt a pat on his shoulder, and then he turned around. "When did you go to the back?" Wang Qiushu's voice came from another direction. "I'm really invisible? This skill is great. I wish I had it too." He shook his head. "Let me guess. You want this ability. Do you want to trick me?" Wang Qiushu and Qiuzilin slowly showed their true bodies, and she waved her hand. "Of course not. I just want to enhance my strength." After saying that, she nodded, as if to add a little persuasiveness. However, the smirk on her face had already betrayed her. Qiuzilin said at this time, "With this ability, it will be much easier to deal with those level 3 zombies next. If the two of us attack at the same time, I believe it will be difficult for them to dodge when they are caught off guard." Wang Qiushu nodded in agreement. "By the way, I don't know if you have inherited the abilities of Crabman. I feel that his abilities are quite powerful." Qiuzilin's face froze. "If I become like him, forget it." He looked at Wang Qiushu speechlessly. "How dare you say that? You almost let him run away." "I just said that you are a veteran and experienced person, but you actually capsized in the gutter." Wang Qiushu responded embarrassedly, who knew that the bubbles he spit out could become bigger, and they are so resilient. "I had to chop them several times before they broke." He touched his chin. "Come to think of it, that bubble is pretty good. Maybe it can be used to trap level 3 zombies." Wang Qiushu nodded in agreement. "Indeed, even my soul-breaking sword needs several hits to cut through it. If it is an ordinary level 3 zombie, it should not be able to come out so quickly. At that time, we can either divide and attack them, or wait for them to tire themselves out." QI face froze. Doesn't that mean I still have to turn into a crab? They both looked over at the same time, and then Wang Qiushu patted her shoulder. Don't worry, it's not certain whether you can inherit it. Chapter 195 The Abilities of Crabman. Then, he cancelled Qiushu's transformation, and the three of them began to walk back. The main purpose of today was to test the power of the title of Thousand Corpses Slayer and to help Qiushu upgrade. Now that it has been achieved, there is no need to continue. Moreover, those level 3 zombies should have met by now, and it is hard to say whether they have fought or not. However, they are definitely not far from here. If the title is worn again, it is likely to attract siege. In addition, Wang Qiushu has used up the low-level physical strength medicine today. If he wants to continue to transform, he will have to use the 3rd level physical strength medicine. This one requires 20 experience points, and the cost effectiveness is a bit low. Wang Qiushu is still sitting on his back seat, and can't help asking, what happened to the crabman just now? Did you find something wrong at the beginning? Qiushu, who was riding a bicycle on the side, also looked over. She did it herself, and didn't find anything wrong. It was only after his reminder that the hiding crabman was forced out. He rode his bicycle leisurely, the salty and wet sea breeze blowing in his face, and then replied, I only discovered it later. One reason is that he died too easily, without even a struggle. The other reason is that his head is too fragile. Previously, you used the earth hammer and the instant burst to barely make a hole in the pincers, but failed to break it. When the female zombie was gnawing on him, she only ate the black liquid in the pincers before starting to bite, so it's understandable that it was a little fragile. But his head was just constantly stabbed by Zilan, and it was penetrated in just a few strokes. This is a bit unreasonable. Moreover, the sound later was not right, and the cracks that appeared on it made it more like a discarded shell. Qiushu nodded when she heard this. She didn't actually notice these at the time. Wang Qiushu grabbed his clothes. So, the outside is just his shell, and the small one is his real body? Just like the big fish before. He shook his head. No, the big fish's real body is very small, not the same as his. In fact, crabs will shed their shells. Even if their legs and pincers are all broken, as long as they are not dead, they can grow out through repeated molting. That's why there are strong crabs on the internet before. And the crabman should have magnified this characteristic, and can decide the time to molt independently, so he gave up struggling, and was actually planning how to escape. Wang Qiushu nodded when he heard it. Then if I inherit the ability of the cicada, can't I also escape from the shell? No, I want to inherit the butterflies. Butterflies are also transformed from insects, and should also have this ability to transform. The most important thing is that butterflies are beautiful enough, he said without turning his head. Just be your big moth. Wang Qiushu was so angry that she pinched him. Qiushu beside him laughed out loud, and then asked, by the way, how did you know that the crabman was hiding in the ground? He sighed. This is life experience. When I was a child, I caught crabs in the river, but I didn't bring anything to catch them. So, I put the crabs by the river, and surrounded them with stones. As a result, when I went to see it later, the crabs were gone. Wang Qiushu blinked his big eyes. Could it have taken the opportunity to crawl out? And this has nothing to do with the crabman hiding in the ground. He continued, I thought so at first, and then I caught another crab, and put it in, and then watched from the side. As a result, the crab started digging sand in front of me, and then slowly sank into the sand. I quickly reached out to dig the sand, trying to catch it out, but I couldn't find it anymore. Wang Qiushu laughed so hard. I didn't expect you to be so stupid before, and you still have the nerve to criticize me. Qiushu seemed to be thinking about something. That is to say, crabman can make the floor look like sand, and then hide inside. However, why doesn't he continue to change and move with the sand? This way he won't be knocked out by me. He shook his head. Crabman is just a level 3 zombie. It's amazing that he can do this. If he can really do as you said, then no zombie would be his opponent. He just needs to move quietly and pull the other party in. I guess no one can resist inside. Wang Qiushu said. Even so, this ability is pretty good. You can make a trap and wait for others to step into it. He smiled. So are you interested? If you are interested, we can go to the beach to see if we can catch a crab. Wang Qiuyushu shook his head repeatedly. Qiuyuzilan then asked, by the way, wasn't the crab man very tough? How come he was stabbed to death by my dragon killing spear in an instant? Hearing this, Wang Qiuyushu looked at Qiuyuzilan. Didn't you plan to stab him to death from the beginning? Qiuyuzilan shook her head. I threw the dragon killing spear out just to hit him, so that he couldn't run so fast, and buy you some time. Who knew that he would be pierced to death directly? The two looked at him at the same time, and he explained, in fact, crabs are soft after molting, and the same is true for cicadas. However, cicadas will become hard in about an hour, and crabs need much longer. During this time, they are equivalent to having no protection. I believe the crab man is the same, so he was pierced by your shot. Wang Qiuyushu frowned. Then this ability is too useless. Once he sheds his shell, isn't his life in danger at all times? He smiled. For zombies, yes, but you still have protective gear on you, so it's not a big problem. Wang Qiuyushu snorted coldly. Humph, you still want to trick me into turning into a crab? I don't want to. Qiuyuzilan's eyes flickered, as if she was weighing the pros and cons. Along the way, since all the zombies had been led away long ago, they did not encounter any obstacles. As they were talking, several people returned to their residence smoothly. Qiuyuzilan had been lying on the windowsill and watching until she saw Qiuyuzilan coming back. Then she shouted, "Sister." Then she disappeared. They opened the door and went upstairs. When they reached the 5th floor, they just bumped into Qiuyuzilan, who was walking downstairs with her short legs. Qiuyuzilan hugged Qiuyuzilan, then looked at her carefully, and then said, "Sister, I'm so worried about you." Wang Qiuyushu pinched Qiuyuzilan's little face on the side. "What about me?" Qiuyuzilan replied, "Same." He passed by several people silently. Qiuyuzilan opened her mouth but didn't speak. Wang Qiuyushu glanced at him and said, "Don't bother with him, he is too unromantic." Qiuyuzilan nodded. Chapter 196 Hidden Attributes. The next morning, they gathered again on the 1st floor. Wang Qiuyushu held a brand new earth hammer in his hand, which he had repaired yesterday. The system cheated him of another 50 experience points. After a day of fighting and squandering yesterday, he now had 1045 experience points. Of course, the main reason was that he killed the crab man, which was the biggest gain, and he gained a full 1000 experience points. Qiuyuzilan still stayed in the building. After all, what they were going to do now was too dangerous. After Qiuyuzilan waved goodbye to Qiuyuzilan upstairs, she looked at him. "What should we do now? Should we go to the place where we were yesterday?" He nodded. "Let's go to the area first and see if the level 3 zombies are not there. Then we will get rid of the other low level zombies first." Qiuyuzilan nodded and then rushed out on her bicycle. He carried Wang Qiuyushu and quickly followed. After riding down for a distance, they could already see zombies wandering on the street. However, they were all ordinary zombies, and when they saw the 3 people, they rushed over directly. They stopped the car directly, and then Wang Qiuyushu and the other man easily took care of the zombies that rushed over. Qiuyuzilan swung the Dragon Slayer spear to get rid of the black liquid on it, and said, "It seems that the impact of yesterday was still too great. These zombies are wandering here. If their number is a little more, or if there is enough time, they might wander around where we live." Wang Qiuyushu responded, "These zombies are too easy to deal with. There is no need to worry even if more come." He then took out a transformation needle and threw it to Qiuyuzilan. "I just thought about it. If those level 3 zombies are still staying in the previous place and don't leave, it will be very dangerous if we rush in rashly. So, the important task of gathering intelligence is left to you." Qiuyuzilan took the transformation needle. "Don't worry, I will definitely complete this task." He waved his hand. "Don't talk so heavily. You don't have to do anything. You just need to go to yesterday's place invisibly. At that time, I will start the scan, and it will be clear whether there are level 3 zombies nearby." Qiuyuzilan said "Oh," and then began to transform. Wang Qiuyushu stood aside, looking bored. "I suddenly feel so lonely. I feel like I'm no longer needed. Is this the newcomer wins over the old?" Qiuyuzilan was stunned. Black lines appeared on his head, but he soon whispered to Wang Qiushu, without her, won't we have more time alone? Do you want to spy on intelligence and let me be alone with her? Besides, it's so dangerous for me to be here alone. How can I do it without your protection? Wang Qiushu's pretty face flushed slightly, and then nodded in agreement. Although Qiu Zilan didn't know what he was talking about, she thought it must be a whisper between lovers, so she didn't get involved. After Qiu Zilan transformed, he received a prompt from the system. Ding. Assist Qiu Zilan in killing a level 3 zombie, and you can extract one of the abilities from the zombie, namely, Crab Transformation, Giant Claws, Molting and Rebirth, Sand Trap, and Spitting Bubbles. Special reminder, Crab Transformation is a prerequisite for other abilities. When he saw the previous sentence, his face lit up. When he saw the special reminder, he was stunned. Doesn't that mean that, if you want to obtain the latter abilities, you must transform into a crab? Qiu Zilan looked at his changing expression, and couldn't help asking, what's wrong? He replied, you can inherit the abilities of the crab man. Wang Qiushu took a breath, you are so lucky. You can inherit abilities twice after upgrading. I'm almost envious and jealous. He went on, but the prerequisite for inheritance is that you have to accept the first ability, which is transformation into a crab. Wang Qiushu looked at Qiu Zilan, then at him. Do you even need to ask? Just choose not to accept it. Your experience points are completely sufficient. Otherwise, if she becomes like the crab man, won't Zillion hate you to death? He nodded. Then I'll get rid of all these abilities. To be honest, he couldn't accept Qiu Zilan becoming like this. Qiu Zilan's face showed confusion. After hearing this, she said directly, wait a minute. Wang Qiushu hurriedly said, Zilan, don't be so stupid. It's not a big deal. If you become like that, you may never change back in your life. Qiu Zilan slowly raised her head. Her eyes gradually became firm. No. I need to become stronger. Only in this way can I protect Zillion. And the ability of the crab man, whether it is attack or survival ability, is very strong, which is exactly what I need. If I rely solely on upgrading, I don't know when I can become strong enough. Wang Qiushu tugged at his clothes. You persuade her, she seems a little crazy. As a woman, she naturally knew how much Qiu Zilan sacrificed to do this, so she didn't want to see such a scene even more. Besides, with him around, he will become stronger one day, so why worry so much? Qiu Zilan said directly, no need, I have actually thought about it for a whole night, and have already made up my mind. It's just that I didn't make up my mind until just now. He sighed and didn't answer, but asked in his mind, system, is there any solution? Otherwise, it will be difficult for her to even get into the house in the future. Think about Qiu Zilan becoming as strong as a crab man and carrying 2 big claws. She probably can't even get into the door. System, since the crab has transformed into an animal type ability, it can be converted into a hidden attribute, and the auxiliary can switch freely between human form and crab form. However, the corresponding ability can only be used in crab form. He waved his hand. Just take this. How many experience points are needed? Just tell me directly. System, a total of 500 experience points are required. He exclaimed. What? Say it again. Wang Qiushu and the others looked at him at the same time. He waved his hands to indicate that he was fine, and then repeated in his mind, how much do you want? System, 500 experience points, not a single point less. He was so angry that he didn't know what to say. After a while, he said, system, you are taking advantage of me. It's less than 100 experience points, even if you remove all of them. You want 500, just to convert it into a hidden attribute? The system replied arrogantly, this kind of thing is consensual. If you think it's too expensive, you don't have to. But I have to remind you that it's not often that you can gain the other person's abilities. If you miss this opportunity, you may not be able to get it next time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 Gathering Intelligence. He glanced at Qiuzilin, who was uneasy but determined, and finally gritted his teeth. Knock, knock. Let's make it clear first. There won't be any sequelae or other problems, right? System, don't worry, this is equivalent to having both the zombie virus and the mutated crab virus in her body, which belong to two different systems, and will not cause any impact. As for which form to use, it is completely controlled by her, and of course, you, the host. Finally, thank you for your patronage. After saying that, he watched 500 experience points disappear on the panel, and suddenly he was so heartbroken that he couldn't breathe. At the same time, Qiuzilin suddenly looked at her body, and she felt that her body seemed to have undergone a slight inexplicable change. He looked at Qiuzilin. Try to think about switching forms in your mind, and you should be able to become like the crab man. Wang Qiushu looked at him in surprise. Are you crazy? Did you really turn her into that? The next second, Qiuzilin changed her appearance directly, and her two hands became a large and a small clamp, looking the same as the crab man yesterday. However, her hair was still there, and she did not become as bald as the crab man. In addition, the martial arts uniform actually grew larger as Qiuzilin's hands turned into pliers, and was not broken. As Qiuzilin's hands turned into pliers, she naturally lost control of the Dragon Slayer spear, and it fell to the ground. Then, her pliers opened and closed, and everything seemed so natural, without any incoordination at all. Wang Qiushu went up and tapped her pliers lightly, making a clang clang sound. It's really hard, but this appearance is really, alas. He then said, can you try to change back? Qiuzilin nodded when she heard this, and the next second she changed back to her original appearance and picked up the Dragon Slayer spear on the ground. Wang Qiushu was stunned for a moment. Can it be like this? He replied, she can now switch between zombie form and crab form, and she has inherited all the abilities of the crab man. Wang Qiushu breathed a sigh of relief. That's good, otherwise it would be too hard to accept. Qiuzilin looked at him. Thank you. He waved his hand. No need to thank me, it's all thanks to you killing zombies, to get so many experience points, so it's only right to use them on you. Wang Qiushu asked curiously, how much did you use? He pretended to be indifferent. Not much, only 500. Compared to her improved strength, I think it's still worth it. Wang Qiushu and the other person were stunned when they heard this. They naturally knew how much 500 experience points could do. After a while, Qiuzilin said, I will definitely kill the zombies well. He threw a stamina pill. Take this. If you encounter any emergency later, lead the zombies to another place and then come back. If it doesn't work, we will also come to pick you up. Qiuzilin took the stamina pill, stepped on the bicycle directly, and walked down with the Dragon Slayer. After walking a distance, her figure disappeared directly, and even the bicycle disappeared. Wang Qiushu looked in that direction and sighed. I'm so envious. I wish I had so many abilities. He smiled. After we deal with these level 3 zombies, let's go to the beach and catch a level 4 crab for you. Wang Qiushu shook his head. I already have Zilin. There's no point in me having this duplicate ability. Besides, I don't want to be like others. He clapped his hands. Okay then, I'll see if I can catch a big moth for you or something. Wang Qiushu glared at him. I don't want a big moth. I want a butterfly, and the most beautiful one. He quickly responded. Okay, then let's do a butterfly. Let's see when we can encounter a mutated butterfly. Even if it's not level 4, I will use the zombie virus to upgrade it to level 4. Wang Qiushu put her head on his shoulder and smiled. That's about right. He took the opportunity to put his arm around Wang Qiushu's waist. It's so hard for us to be alone together. Do you want to? Before he finished speaking, Wang Qiushu pushed him away. If you don't help Zilin pay attention, what if something happens? Besides, who said we are alone now? He was stunned for a moment when he heard the words, and when he looked up, he saw several level 1 zombies staggering towards him. Wang Qiushu swung the hammer of the earth and slowly walked towards the zombies. He shouted from behind, beat them hard for me, they really don't even know how to choose a suitable time to die. Wang Qiushu nodded slightly. He began to observe the situation on Qiuzilin's side. As QIUZILAN went deeper and deeper, the number of zombies on the street increased. It seemed that they should have stayed here after being led to this area yesterday. However, there was no trace of level 3 zombies for the time being, so it was not certain whether they were still nearby. However, level 3 zombies already have a certain level of intelligence, so they naturally would not be idle and wander around the street like these low-level zombies. Moreover, due to the large number of zombies, they have already started killing each other. However, it was basically high-level zombies killing low-level zombies, or eating them. There were very few fights of the same level, perhaps because they didn't want to be picked up by other zombies. After all, in such a place, once you get hurt, you will definitely be beaten up by a group. In the end, there will be no corpse left. QIUZILAN walked along the way, and at the same time, she did not forget to use the Dragon Slayer gun to stab the zombies on the roadside. And those zombies were naturally unable to block even a shot under the attack of QIUZILAN's level 3 zombie. The head exploded directly and then fell to the ground. Then a bunch of zombies rushed over and shared the corpse. Then, those zombies would fight each other, kill a few more, and be shared again. QIUZILAN moved forward for a distance and stopped. There were too many zombies in front, and the road was blocked. She was considering whether to kill them directly. At this time, he said directly, "No, just here. If all the level 3 zombies are inside, I'm worried that you will cause too much noise, and it will be difficult to run away." QIUZILAN nodded when she heard it. The next second, he directly turned on the scan, with QIUZILAN as the center, and the surrounding situation was in full view. I saw that the area around QIUZILAN was densely packed with red dots of various sizes, with numbers indicating the zombie levels on them. However, the scanner did not show the existence of level 3 zombies. I don't know where those level 3 zombies have gone, whether they went back, or went to find a place to fight. He said directly, "Okay, you come back first." QIUZILAN nodded and started to walk back. Chapter 198, Cleaning Up the Corpses. When QIUZILAN came back, Wankyushu was resting on the side, and he put the corpses into the juicer with a dissatisfied look on his face. QIUZILAN couldn't help but feel strange, and asked in a low voice, "Did you make him angry just now?" Wankyushu smiled and said, "It's not me, it's the zombies." QIUZILAN was a little confused, but didn't continue to ask. At this time, he just juiced the last corpse and just walked over. The two looked at him at the same time, waiting for his arrangement. He said, "Since those level 3 zombies don't know where they ran to, let's deal with these low level zombies first, and then lure the level 3 zombies over, and get rid of them all at once." Wankyushu nodded when he heard it. QIUZILAN frowned slightly, "But, as you saw just now, there are too many zombies. I'm worried that, once the fight starts, we will be directly besieged by them. At that time, your safety will be a big problem." He waved his hand. "It's okay, you just kill them in the front. I'll hide far behind, and be responsible for squeezing juice. There will be no problem." Wankyushu clapped his hands. "Okay, then it's decided. If I get rid of them as soon as possible, I can seek revenge on the female zombie yesterday. This time, I will never let her run away again." Seeing Wankyushu said so, QIUZILAN didn't know what to say. Then, the three of them started to walk down and started a new round of slaughtering zombies. He followed far behind and squeezed juice as agreed before. Occasionally, some fish that slipped through the net would run over, but they were all zombies below level 1. In his hands, they couldn't even make it through a round, and were finally sent to the juicer. Because Wankyushu and QIUZILAN's equipment was so good, they were completely beaten by these zombies below level 3. Except for some speed type zombies, it was difficult for the others to survive a round in their hands. However, this was also because there were fewer zombies on the periphery, so they could still handle it without transforming. For safety reasons, he naturally assigned a transformation needle to each of the two people so that they could immediately transform and run away if necessary. As they went deeper and deeper, the number of zombies began to increase, and the two began to be a little overwhelmed. It was not that they could not beat them, but mainly because they had to swing their weapons at least once to kill a zombie. The current situation has become that after they kill one, another will soon come up, as if they can never kill them all. In addition, the level of the zombies began to increase, and the number of level 1 and level 2 zombies began to increase, which also made their killing speed begin to slow down. After all, it is difficult to kill a level 2 zombie with one shot without triggering the characteristics of the weapon. However, Qi Zealand's kung fu is very good, and Wang Qiushu has rich combat experience, so they can barely handle it for the time being. Occasionally, there are zombies who want to pass them and run towards him, but they are also stopped one by one. He looked at the increasing number of zombies and began to think about what to do next. It was too slow to just rely on the two of them to kill them slowly. Moreover, neither of them transformed because the level 3 zombies never appeared. If this was a trap, it would be difficult for them to escape. Not to mention relying on physical strength drugs to maintain the transformation, and then quickly clean up the zombies. If there was any accident, it would really be a dead end. He looked at the juicer again and couldn't help but think of the method Wang Qiushu had mentioned before. However, even after the juicer became bigger, it was still too small and could not meet his requirements at all. At this time, the system suddenly ran out. "Host, is there anything I can help you with?" He frowned slightly. "Have you been spying on me? Otherwise, why did you run out when I was just thinking about something?" The system responded, "We are now one, so I know exactly what you are thinking. But host, don't worry, when necessary, I will automatically block you, and I will definitely not see or hear anything I shouldn't hear." He was relieved, otherwise, he would definitely find a way to pull the system out and beat it up. Although the authenticity of what the system said needs to be verified, he still takes it seriously. Then he asked, "System, can this juicer become a little bigger? It's still too small now and can't meet my requirements." The system answered directly, "Only 100 experience points are needed to meet the host's requirements." He rubbed his ears. "What? Say it again." The system repeated, "Only 100 experience points are needed to meet the host's requirements." He was so angry that he gritted his teeth. It only took 50 experience points to upgrade the juicer, and now you want 100 points? Do you think my experience points are all blown by the wind? Look at how hard those two beautiful girls tried to kill zombies to get such a small amount of experience points. You actually asked for such a high price. Don't you feel heartbroken? The system responded emotionlessly, "I'm just a system without emotions, so I don't feel heartbroken. On the contrary, you, the host, actually hid behind and watched them fight hard. Don't you feel ashamed?" He was so angry that he almost jumped up. "Then why don't you let me become a zombie? Why don't you let me upgrade my armor? I have nothing. Wouldn't it be a waste if I go up?" The system was silent for a moment, then changed the subject and said, "Does the system need to be upgraded? If not, I'll leave first." He waved his hand in annoyance. "Upgrade it." System. Ding. 100 experience points are deducted. The zombie juicer is upgraded successfully and new functions are enabled. The size can be changed at will according to the host's wishes. The host can remotely control the switch of the juicer, and the zombie virus in the juicer can be transferred at will. A new cutter is added at the bottom of the juicer, which can cut the corpse for easy juicing. With so many functions added at once, these 100 experience points are still worth it, but he still can't be happy when thinking about what the system said just now. After saying this, the system seemed to notice that he was in a bad mood, so it quietly slipped away. He held the shrunken juicer and then shouted to Wang Qiushu and the others from a distance, "It's time to retreat." Wang Qiushu and the others didn't understand, but they still retreated while killing. At the beginning, there were still some brainless zombies following, but they were soon killed by the two. The remaining zombies looked at the two men, then looked at the pile of corpses on the ground, and began to eat them. Some level 2 zombies thought about it, and did not chase them. After all, the combat power of these two men was too strong, and it would be useless to chase them. Chapter 199 Burying the Juicer. The few people then met at the place they had agreed on in advance. Qi Zealand breathed a sigh of relief. "I thought I had to use the transformation needle to retreat, but I didn't expect them to not chase us." Wang Qiushu waved his hand. "That's right. They are all scared of us. How dare they chase us? But why retreat so early? I still have plenty of energy. I can still kill for a while," he explained. "It's too slow for you to kill one by one, so I thought of a faster way. The two looked at him curiously at the same time. He kept it a secret. You will know in a while. Wang Qiushu frowned slightly. I always feel that I don't seem to have anything to do with this. He put his arm around Wang Qiushu's shoulders. How could it be? This method was first thought of by you, but it was just not implemented at that time. Wang Qiushu thought for a while. Really? Why don't I remember it? He nodded. You will probably remember it later. Qi Yuzilan, who was listening to the conversation between the two, was still confused. After waiting for a while, until there was no more noise of commotion nearby, the few people walked out. He did not go to the previous place, but brought the two to a white court, and then asked Qi Yuzilan to transform. Qi Yuzilan did not understand, but still gave herself an injection, and began to transform. Then, he said to Qi Yuzilan after the transformation, how big is the range of your sand trap? Qi Yuzilan shook her head. I don't know, I haven't tried it yet. Do you want me to make the biggest sand trap? He nodded. Qi Yuzilan immediately transformed into a crab form after hearing this, and then put her two claws on the ground. The ground began to soften slowly, just like a cake cut by a knife, and began to fluctuate slowly. And this fluctuation did not stop, but slowly extended to the surroundings. Wang Qiushu and he quickly stepped back, and said in surprise, this is too amazing, but it turns out that this trick can only be done by touching the ground with pliers. I thought it could be done remotely. He asked, if you put something in, will it affect the ground? Will the surrounding ground be arched up? Qi Yuzilan frowned. It should be. After all, the ground is just sandified now, and the actual volume has not changed. Wang Qiushu was surprised, but when the crab man hid in the ground before, the ground was not seen to be arched up. Qi Yuzilan explained, that's because the crab man's body is relatively small, and the land itself has small gaps. After turning into sand, the space occupied becomes smaller, so it didn't look obvious at the time. However, if it is a large object, it will definitely be affected. Wang Qiushu nodded. When he heard it, he threw the juicer to the center and asked, is this your limit? Qi Yuzilan gritted her teeth. I can hold on for a while. He nodded, and then began to control the juicer to grow larger. The enlarged juicer began to slowly sink into the sand due to its increased weight, but due to its limited weight, it could not sink. After sinking about halfway, at this time, Qi Yuzilan slowly moved towards the direction of the juicer, then clamped the juicer with two pliers, and pressed it down hard. The entire juicer was completely submerged in the ground, and the surrounding ground was indeed arched up. However, due to the large range, it did not have a big impact after it was flattened. Then, Qi Yuzilan looked at him. Is this okay? He nodded, then took out a glass box, and took out a small piece of virus, and handed it over. Take this and hide near the zombie group. Once the zombie group starts to move, you run back, and throw it into the juicer. When you run here, don't worry about the rest. Qi Yuzilan changed back to the zombie form, and put on gloves, before taking the zombie virus. The ground began to harden without being touched by Qi Yuzilan. However, the juicer was not affected at all, and remained in place, as if it had always been like this. Wang Qiushu on the side asked curiously, why is it so troublesome to separate them? Can't you just take the whole box? He knocked on Wang Qiushu's head. With such a concentrated virus content, who knows what kind of monsters will be attracted? Do you want to die? Wang Qiushu touched his head. I forgot. But now I know what you are going to do. Didn't you say that my method doesn't work? He explained. At that time, the juicer couldn't be so big, and it was troublesome to operate. Now there is no need to dig a hole, and the capacity is enough, so you can squeeze a lot at a time. The most important thing is that you don't have to chop so hard, you just need to watch from the side. Qi Yuzilan nodded. Then I'll go? He replied. Go ahead. Qi Yuzilan rode her bicycle, and left with the zombie virus. At this time, Wang Qiushu suddenly asked, what were you thinking about just now? He shook his head and said curiously, nothing. What's wrong? Wang Qiushu didn't believe it. What I meant was that when I came back just now, I clearly saw that you were a little unhappy. Did something happen? His expression dimmed for a moment, then he turned his head and said in a nonchalant tone, no way, you obviously saw it wrong. I was squeezing juice by myself in the back, and I didn't have to do anything. How could I be unhappy? Wan Qiushu twisted his head and looked at each other. Look at me now and say it again. He opened his mouth and finally sighed. Well, actually, I feel ashamed seeing you guys fighting hard there. It would be great if I could go up and kill the zombies too. Then I wouldn't have to hide behind you and rely on your protection. Wan Qiushu snorted lightly. It's your male chauvinism again. I thought it was something else. It's not that you can do it but don't. You just can't do it. What's there to be ashamed of? Besides, haven't you come up with such a good way to reduce our burden? Besides, if it weren't for you, let alone me, Zillan and the others might not be able to live as safely as they do now. So, you don't have to think so much. He frowned. Is that so? But I still feel a little bad. It feels like I'm a gigolo. Wan Qiushu smiled and pinched his face. Who made you my gigolo? Isn't it normal to be a gigolo? There's just one thing. Your face is not white enough. He smiled. Not white enough. Then you want more. Wan Qiushu snorted coldly. I like it. That's enough. Nothing else matters. Chapter 200. Juicer starts. Not long after, Qiuzilin rushed over with a large group of zombies behind her. However, in the eyes of others, they could only see these zombies chasing a black object. And the black object was moving in the air, which looked a bit weird. Occasionally, some speed zombies would rush forward and try to grab the black object. But every time they were about to grab it, they would fly backwards, as if they were hit by something. He and Wan Qiushu hid in a nearby high-rise building early in the morning and observed below. Wan Qiushu exclaimed, I didn't expect this method to be so feasible. In this way, the zombie swarm can be cleared out quickly. However, are the level 3 zombies really not showing up? He retracted his gaze from the scanner and shook his head. No, at least not found within the scanner range. Wan Qiushu responded, that's really strange. Never mind. When you wear the title, they will definitely show up, and then we can deal with them. By the way, do you think we can lead them into the juicer? He was speechless. Didn't I say it before? They all have a certain degree of intelligence, and they won't be fooled by such low-level traps. In fact, I suspect that those level 2 zombies below may not be fooled. Wan Qiushu frowned. Then what should we do? He smiled. Haven't you heard of an idiom called luring someone into a urn? If they don't want to go in, can't we just invite them in? When the time comes, open the lid of the juicer, and you and Zillan will be responsible for throwing them in. This will save a lot of time and effort. Wan Qiushu frowned even tighter. Is this what luring someone into a urn means? Why don't I remember it as luring someone into a urn? He laughed. Anyway, as long as you understand what I mean. While the two were talking, Qiuzilin had already come to the juicer. She looked back at the zombies behind her, and then threw the zombie virus directly into it. Then, she walked to where the two were hiding. The zombies followed in a mighty manner, watching the zombie virus fall into it. So, they surrounded it. However, those level 2 zombies and some level 1 zombies did not jump directly, but stood on the side to observe. Although they also wanted to eat the zombie virus, they were still a little skeptical about the scene in front of them, which was too much like a trap. And those brainless level 1 zombies and ordinary zombies, completely unable to resist the temptation of the virus, squeezed forward one after another, and then fell in. Of course, some of them jumped in on their own initiative. The first ordinary zombie who jumped in couldn't wait to crawl to the center of the juicer, where the zombie virus was lying, emitting waves of tempting fragrance that he couldn't resist. However, before he could climb out 2 steps, he was pinned down by the zombies behind him. Then, the zombies jumped into the juicer one after another. The zombies below wanted to get rid of the pressure from above, while the ones above wanted to go down to eat the zombie virus. Neither of them could achieve their goals, so they started fighting directly, and the scene suddenly became extremely tragic. After a round of fighting, the inside began to become a little empty. After all, the loser had been eaten. At the same time, the walls of the juicer were covered with black liquid, and the content of this liquid was higher than that of the zombie virus just now, which attracted a new batch of zombies to jump down. When Qiuzilin came back, the two were lying on the window and watching the performance of the zombies below with interest, and he lifted the transformation. When Qiuzilin returned downstairs, so Kyuzelan still had the energy to come up by herself. Wan Kyushu looked at the scene below and asked, "Didn't you just say that you could remotely control and start the juicer? Why don't you do it now? If this goes on, the zombie virus will be consumed internally, and a lot will be wasted." He shook his head. "No hurry. Almost all the zombies going down now are ordinary zombies, and some brainless level 1 zombies. Didn't you see that those level 2 zombies didn't move? These low level zombies, no matter how much they are consumed, they won't waste much. Let them fight for a while first." Kyuzelan walked over to them and watched. She always felt that something happened between these two people when she was away, but she couldn't put into words the specific feeling. Wan Kyushu then asked, "How long do we have to wait? I don't think these level 2 zombies will go down obediently, so we still have to send them off." He chuckled. "Don't worry, they will go in by themselves later. If they don't go in now, it's just that the virus is not tempting enough." Wan Kyushu sighed. "What a pity. If I had obtained the control ability of that zombie, they would have jumped in obediently one by one." Kyuzelan asked, "Are you talking about the big fish?" Wan Kyushu shook his head. "No, the big fish is a lure, and that zombie is a kind of control ability. He controls the zombies of an entire community to fight for him. However, his own strength is very weak." Kyuzelan nodded. "That ability is indeed very powerful." At this time, the juicer was already full of zombies, and it was almost impossible to put in any more. And because the activity space was too small, the fighting between the zombies also became slow. He shook his head. "Looks like I have to do it myself." The next second, the lid of the juicer suddenly closed, and then the blade at the bottom of the juicer stretched out and cut the zombies inside. Then, the juicer began to rotate. Since the juicer was completely buried in the soil, the zombies outside could not see what was happening inside. However, at the moment the lid of the juicer was closed, some alert level 2 zombies fled the place and stood in the distance to watch. As the juicer was closed, the smell of the zombie virus began to disappear. Those ordinary zombies looked around blankly, seemingly not understanding why they were here, and then began to wander around again. Then, the ho-ho sound, cutting sound, and the rumbling sound of the rotation from the juicer attracted the attention of those zombies again. However, even if those zombies rushed over, they could not open the lid, let alone know what was happening inside. After a while, the lid was opened again, and those level 2 zombies not only did not come close to look, but moved further away. The zombies that were originally on the juicer and on the edge of the lid fell directly in. At the same time, as the lid opened, a stronger smell of the virus than before wafted out, and those level 2 zombies that had walked away unconsciously walked back. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.